Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome, everyone. It is the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. It is Thursday, September 19th, and shout out, as always, to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, I see you're wearing the Vikings stuff. I'm going to give you the floor to talk about your Minnesota Vikings and former Panthers quarterback great Sam Darnold.
Oh, man. Yeah, I won't take up too much of y'all's time talking about I'm sorry, I already saw the first comment here from Pile Driver Finisher. People already wanting to rain on my parade. Okay, I'll talk a little Vikings and we'll move on. Thank you for joining us, everyone who's here this early in the morning, by the way. We really appreciate y'all. Yeah, I'm wearing my Vikings gear. This is a Justin Jefferson. I consider it a jersey. It's kind of like one of those like more affordable jerseys that they put out. I got it a couple seasons ago when it was on sale. Really happy with it. Justin Jefferson's the man. My thing with the Vikings, dude, I'll keep it short and sweet. They're 2-0. They won the last game over the 49ers, who did not have Christian McCaffrey. To be fair, they didn't have CMC, but we didn't have Justin Jefferson the second half. We didn't have Jordan Addison the entire game, and we didn't have TJ Hawkinson the entire game. So like three of our biggest offensive weapons didn't play, and we still beat the 49ers. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Vikings look like with all those guys healthy on the field together at the same time. I'm very happy with Sam Darnold. I had faith in the guy. Preseason, I was saying this could be a big turnaround year for him. He's going to have a bunch of weapons. He's going to get his confidence back with Kevin O'Connell, and he's playing really good. I'm a big JJ McCarthy guy. I do expect McCarthy to be our starting quarterback at the beginning of next year, but I'm hoping that we can ride this thing with Darnold, and he has all the incentive in the world to play the best that he possibly can because, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year unless he gets signed by us or an extension or something. So he has every reason to have the best year of his career because he's probably going to get paid by a different team at the end of this season because we have McCarthy waiting to play for us as the number 10 overall pick. So, and speaking of big picks, you guys benched the number 1 overall pick 2 games into his second season, which is nuts. It is nuts to see it. But Bryce Young has not been playing well at all. So I mean, I get it, but I feel like he's going to be out of Carolina pretty soon. They're probably going to try to move him, I would imagine.
I don't know what you're talking about.
With Bryce Young, they're your quarterback.
Yeah,
yeah. I think that they're in a very, very bad situation with that. I don't think that's ever happened. A number 1 overall pick like that they've a team just gives up on that quickly. But like we've seen with Sam Darnold. I've dealt with Sam Bradford as well. But with Sam Darnold, you never know. I mean, Bryce Young might be a great quarterback, but he's on the wrong team with the wrong coaching, with like the wrong players around him. Like that guy might be great with the right team, like how Darnold's playing right now and how, Baker Mayfield has turned his career around with the right situation and stuff. So I think it's pretty fascinating what's been going on in the NFL. And I think this is a great year for the Vikings to potentially have a great year because the league seems pretty wide open right now. Like the Chiefs don't look like unbeatable. They look good, but they don't look unbeatable. The Vikings play the Texans this week. That's going to be a big test, but we just beat the Niners. So I feel like the Vikings, like this could be a year for them to be a sleeper team and really have a run. But I do feel bad for your Carolina Panthers, dude, because that situation they got in with the quarterback, and I love Adam Thielen. He's my favorite player ever, and I feel like he needs to get the hell out of there before his career is over. But he went there for the bag, so he's kind of getting what he deserved. But that's all the football talk people want to hear. You probably want to hear me talk about wrestling. So,
not sure what you're talking about when it comes to what's happening in Carolina, but
are you just not paying attention at all to the NFL this season?
No, I pay attention to the NFL. I mentioned the Vikings and Darnold and Justin Jefferson. I watched that game. Thursday Night Football is Patriots and Jets tonight. Monday night was a really good game between the Eagles and the Falcons. Kirk Cousins didn't look super washed.
Sorry, more
very
specifically, like just not the Panthers.
No, I have no idea what's happening with who.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening with.
Oh them. Yeah. Like they benched their starting quarterback.
I didn't realize they had a team. Honestly, like.
Yeah, it's Anyway, Skull Vikings from the chat. What's up, Darren? Skull, everyone. I'm excited for this year. I'm very, very happy for this year. It's only 2 games in, though. Of course, I mean a lot can happen, but yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk some wrestling, but we got football. My fantasy team's 0-2, so bad start there. Good waiver claims hopefully came through this morning. I haven't had a chance to look yet.
Guys, we are on Fightful Overbooked this week and moving forward. We appreciate everybody still getting up early with us. Nothing changes. We're just on a different channel, a channel that hopefully some of you are familiar with. If you're not, welcome. Maggie, who you might know from the chats all the time, that she's always up early with us because it's not really early for her, but she's always been in the chat on the main channel. She's always in the chat on Fightful Overbooked, and she has her own show on this channel as well. Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern, coexisting with Rob and Maggie. Everyone can check out that show. We have shows every single day, except for Saturdays, here on this channel. Live shows every single day in the weeds, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern with myself and Joel Pearl. Show called FMC, where we don't talk any wrestling. It's a lot of fun. With myself and SP3 every Tuesday, coexisting with Rob and Maggie every Friday, and Wrestling Made Me Cry with Auntie Collins and Kylie every Sunday. So welcome to the channel. If you are new here, please subscribe. If you have not already, leave a thumbs up on this video. That helps us out as well. And you can leave a super chat, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. Hey, unlike the main channel where the super chat money goes directly back to Fightful, back to Sean, back to Jimmy, largely Jimmy, and just back to supporting Fightful and all that. Super chat money here goes to the contributors. It goes to people like Jensen. It goes to people like SP3 and Rob and Maggie and Kylie and Collins. It goes to all of those people. So the super chat money goes a long way to help support some of your favorite content creators here on Fightful Overbooked. All right, let's get into things. We got to start with the OTC.
Okay.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
I got my Ulafala.
Nice.
Knowledge, the OTC, Roman Reigns, ones to the sky. The big dog, the tribal chief, the head of the table, back in WWE, back where he belongs at the top of the mountain, overshadowing Cody Rhodes.
I don't know about overshadowing. I feel like they're like Be Easy Land says in the chat. The mega powers are back. That's exactly how I feel. Man, I loved back in the day when Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan teamed up. I'm just saying. That was badass. It's cool seeing it's cool seeing this. You can keep that one up as long as you want to, Jeremy. I hope your arm doesn't get too tired. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if the goal of you setting it up that way was to get me to try to roast this or Roman Reigns, because that's not going to happen. Because
you can't roast Roman Reigns, so no, that wasn't the goal at all. Like, you can't do it.
No,
what are you going to say?
I don't plan to. I think Roman Reigns is great. I think he's awesome. I'm a Roman Reigns fan. The only time I wanted Roman Reigns to lose in the last few years was when I wanted Cody to beat him, specifically Cody. I was rooting for him to retain the title against everyone else. I love seeing this. This is awesome. And I think it was actually set up pretty well with Cody not wanting to.
Cody, he's an idiot.
Oh, man. That was a good troll job there, Jeremy. That was a good one. You got me there.
Trolling.
Yeah. Anyway, now you've lost my train of thought. Thank you very much for that. The way they set this up, I thought was done really well, with Cody like not wanting to be involved anymore because he beat Solo. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm done with the bloodline. But he didn't want to sign the contract. He didn't want to be a part of the tag team match. But now he has reason to. And it was cool seeing Roman like emerge back on the show and align with Cody. And I actually think it's awesome. I think it's badass. I'm interested because I'm going to be at Bad Blood in a few weeks in Atlanta. And I was expecting Cody to defend the WWE Championship here, considering this is his hometown and everything. And he made a really big deal the last time he was in Atlanta. He cut a promo to the crowd about how, about how he was going to come back with the championship because he hadn't won the title yet the last time we were in Atlanta, or he was in Atlanta. Dude, your arm's got to be getting so tired. But I respect the commitment to the bit. But anyway, yeah, I expected him to defend the championship at Bad Blood, but it's going to be just as cool seeing him out there teaming with Roman Reigns. And also, I don't have the threat of him losing the championship in Atlanta in front of me, which I really like that. I'm not going to see that because there was a little bit of a threat there. You know, I was thinking maybe it would be him and Randy Orton or something. And maybe you would actually lose the title in Atlanta because WWE historically has liked to do stuff like embarrass, people in front of their home crowd. But yeah, there's no way of Cody losing the championship in this one, which is sweet. And I think the match is going to be badass. The crowd's going to go nuts for it.
I feel bad for Cody.
Why?
Because, he comes out on Friday and he beats Solo. Good for him. He gets attacked and everything. He's like, oh, I'm done with the bloodline. I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. I'm the champion. Why do I need to do that? But then he sees Roman Reigns come out. He sees the tribal chief. He sees the original tribal chief. He sees the only tribal chief. He sees the man who runs WWE. And he says, man, even though I got this title, that's the guy right there. Even though I said I'm done with the bloodline, I said it 20 minutes ago. I said I'm done. What happened 20 minutes later, Jensen?
He joined.
Yeah. Why did he join?
Are you looking for a? I mean, because so here's the thing. I think that storyline wise, regardless of the reason he decided to join, eventually what's going to wind up playing out is because he did join, Kevin Owens and or Randy Orton is going to probably turn on him soon because they don't like that he is now helping Roman Reigns after everything that they've gone through, helping protect him against Roman Reigns in the bloodline. So that's where I think it's gonna. That's like, so to answer your question,
yeah, but I think
it's meant to be, huh?
That's you prognosticating. We don't know that that's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I also don't know the exact reason that he joined. Right?
You know why he joined? You know why? Yeah. Because he's failed as a champion.
No. Oh.
Because he can't main event on his own as a champion. He had nothing to do with Bad Blood. What was he going to do? Huh? Who was he going to face? He had nobody. So he saw Roman Reigns. He saw the tribal chief. He wanted to come to the island of relevancy again. And he said, okay. Even though 20 minutes ago I said I'm done with the bloodline. I said I was done. I see the big dog. I see the tribal chief. I see the head of the table. Even though Roman Reigns said, I didn't need your help. This ain't about you. Go over there. Stay over there. Stay on Cody Peninsula. Go be by yourself. Do whatever you're doing over there. I'm still the man that runs WWE. No, here comes Cody. Here comes Cody. It's like, no. You need me, Roman. Don't you need me? He said, no, I don't need you. Why do I need you? What have you done? Who did you beat? Look at all the help you needed to beat me. You couldn't have beat me without all these guys. But here comes Cody. He needs his spot. He needs his spot at Bad Blood. And he says, I'll sign this contract. I'll do it. He wanted to be on the island of relevancy again. He wanted to be next to the head of the table. He wanted a seat at the table, just like everybody else in WWE. They want their seat at the table next to Roman Reigns, feeding everyone, feeding families, Cody's family, his own family, Kevin Owens' family, Randy Orton's family, Logan Paul's family, feeding all these families for years now. That's what Cody wanted again. Because what has Cody done in the 6 months that he's been champion? Who's he fed? Who's he served? Who's he helped?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so any discourse that's even remotely, like, I hate the idea that Cody Rhodes is a failed champion, by the way. I hate that. I hate that idea so much. And I know you're trolling me, but I know that there's some truth in what you're saying because of the opening shows and all this kind of stuff. But I don't. Okay. Oh my God. I'm not going to sit here. The business side, right? Their business is going through the roof. WWE is booming like crazy right now. Who's the face of the company right now as the champion? Cody Rhodes. There's a lot of reasons for Cody Rhodes to be the WWE champion. He's killing it. The fans love him. Everywhere they go worldwide, they're going to places where people's first language is not even English, and everyone is singing his theme song in English, word for word. I mean, across the world. What he's doing right now is remarkable, okay? And speaking of Cody's family, that stuff about Dustin maybe becoming free sometime soon, that's interesting too, because I feel like we could see some family versus family stuff. I mean, Cody's always, and wrestling has more than one royal family, right? I'd be very interested to see Goldust return to the WWE, or maybe be more of himself as Dustin over the WWE before his career is over. I feel like that's a real possibility now. So there's a lot of meat on the bone still for Cody as the champion. I think he's gonna be the champion for a long time. Like, I think he's gonna hold it till at least WrestleMania. And if he wrestles The Rock, he needs to retain over The Rock. So any of this nonsense about Cody not being the right guy or being a bad champion or whatever, they're just building his resume, having him win solid title defenses, have stories that are building to bigger things, and those bigger things, we already know The Rock. That's happening at some point in the probably near future between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, probably. We have a rematch again with him and Roman at some point down the line, which will be humongous. And then you have the Kevin Owens and Randy Orton feuds that are already built in, ready to go. Both, the Kevin Owens thing, we may return to. I mean, he did just defeat him and retain over Owens. But Randy Orton, he has obviously a ton of history with. And, that's a whole story and possibly multiple pay-per-views that might play out over. So this is all seeds planted to where, logically speaking, I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Like, if I was Cody in the same position, I probably wouldn't help Roman after everything that the bloodline had put him through. And but I think at the end of the day, Roman has helped Cody a few times. Cody's returned the favor, and they both have common enemies in the bloodline at this point. And once again, I think this is all mainly just a catalyst to get to Roman or Randy Orton eventually turning on Cody and being like, and this being the reason that he did everything you just mentioned, that he joined with Roman, that he's helping that guy after everything Roman's done to all these other people that helped Cody. It's kind of like the Hangman story to a degree, where it's like all these people who helped Cody along the way are probably going to want some sort of revenge on Cody if he winds up just helping Roman ultimately. Kind of like Hangman wants to go after anyone who got in his way between him and Swerve. Like, I could see a lot of people in this boat, a lot of the babyface roster that could potentially turn when Cody needs, big opponents and new opponents. I think it makes sense that people were involved in that story slowly kind of turn on one another, So yeah, that'd be my answer. I cannot believe you're still holding your hand up, by the way. I'm actually impressed by this.
Acknowledge the tribal chief.
Just like 10 minutes.
Acknowledge him. Acknowledge that Cody Rhodes needs the tribal chief to be relevant in his own hometown.
No,
he couldn't even get on the card.
That's so.
What was he doing? What was he gonna do?
You couldn't even get on the card. Yeah, they definitely, man. Unless he came in and did this stuff with Roman, they just had no plans for Cody in Atlanta and Bad Blood.
Seemed pretty clear. What was he gonna do? This match didn't happen. Tell me, what was he gonna do?
anything that they booked him
Clearly
to do.
nothing. Because he said, I'm done with the bloodline. I'm done. And then he wants to be with the bloodline. Roman doesn't need this man's help. Did you see him in the cage? He came out to that cage and he said, shut this damn door.
That was
I'll
tight.
beat all these asses by myself. He doesn't need Cody's help. Cody needs Roman. Cody needs the OTC.
They both need each other.
That's not true at all. Roman was doing just fine before Cody came back to the company. Roman's going to be doing just fine when Cody leaves the company.
Wait, say that again?
So Roman was doing just fine when Cody came back, and Roman's going to be doing just fine when Cody leaves.
Oh, no. Cody's never leaving.
He's going to be a politician. That's all that man does.
Oh, one day. Oh, y'all know.
That's all he does. Politicking.
One
Acknowledge the tribal
right
chief.
Listen, Jeremy, you make some decent points. I think some of your points are insane, but I also think it's funny that I do think Pile Driver Finisher cracks me up with some of these chats, like that I'm laughing to try to cope with Cody's title reign. Like Cody's title reign, I think has been great. I have nothing against Cody's title reign literally at all. I just think that the way that Jeremy,
I'm just opening the card. That's
to
Cody fans.
To insinuate that
Cody fans
needed
just
Roman Reigns
happy
to get on Bad Blood.
Just happy to have the title. That's it. Just happy to have the title.
Yeah.
Just keeping it warm for Roman Reigns.
Boris mentions that Cody has the Jacob and Rock programs, which is also true. But I also think Cody and Jacob.
Roman has the Jacob and Rock programs, not Cody.
Did I say that? Oh, sorry. I meant to say Roman. But yeah, actually, I think both guys do. I think both Cody and Roman will both wrestle both of those guys in high-profile matches, world title matches. It'll be interesting to see what order they go in. Like, if they decide to pivot in any way. As a Cody Rhodes fan, that's a little concerning, again, heading into this WrestleMania. How The Rock might come back and be like, I know we have the whole thing set up for Cody, but Roman's super over as a babyface again, so I want to do me and Roman at WrestleMania, and then they got to box Cody out this year, how he kind of the opposite of what happened last year.
Rock knows who the real money match is.
But the thing is, he can have both those matches. I just don't think he's going to have them on like back-to-back nights at the same WrestleMania. They'll probably spread them out. So, are any of the other pay-per-views next year 2 nights, or does that start the next year?
I think next year. I think the following year was SummerSlam. 2026 was SummerSlam.
So, so 2025, there's just WrestleMania for the 2 nights?
Yeah, well, 2025 SummerSlam hasn't been announced from what I recall.
Okay.
So that it's very possible that could be 2 nights. Not sure yet.
The reason I ask is because like I could see The Rock being, wrestling on one of it. Like if they do another 2-night, the 2-night SummerSlam or something like that, I could see The Rock wrestling on that also. Like if I could see him, I think he'll definitely wrestle on WrestleMania, and then maybe another one if they do a 2-nighter. Boris, see, now you guys are getting a little too trolly because now Boris is over
Nobody's
here saying
trolling. Speaking facts.
Roman, Jacob,
Facts.
Rock, Roman for night 1 and night 2, and then Cody can host. Okay, guys, we've come a long way from Cody Rhodes should finish the story to now. I don't know if Boris was saying this to be fair, but going from finish the story year after year for years with Cody to Cody can host WrestleMania, and Cody can't get on Bad Blood without Roman Reigns.
That's a nice little spot for Cody hosting.
Nice little spot. That's the face. The guy is the face of the company. And by the way, Roman Reigns didn't even wrestle enough last year to even make the PWI. So, like, I mean,
but who made the most money? Who was the biggest business draw?
Was it
Work
Roman?
smarter, not harder. That's what the tribal chief does. Cody wouldn't be in this position without the tribal chief. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo, Jacob Fatu. All these guys are on the PWI 500, which is a fake outlet. It's not actually acknowledged because of Roman Reigns. Because Roman Reigns fed them. That's it. He doesn't need to be on this dumb list.
Would you say the same for Sami Zayn that you just said for everyone else?
Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, all these guys. It's a fake list. You know what list matters? The money list. The person making the biggest checks. Roman Reigns, that's him.
Yeah, but
doing the least amount of work, getting the biggest checks. That's the dream. That's what the tribal chief does.
Is Cody not making the company the most money?
Who cares about making the company money?
The company's
going to make money regardless.
That's who's deciding who's doing all of everything we're talking about. That's who gets the title.
Don't worry about the billionaires already making more billions. Care about the wrestlers. That's the problem.
I care about
You're caring about
Jerry, I care about the wrestlers, but
WWE. I hope
it's not like Roman Reigns isn't already a multi-millionaire. It's not like
I hope WWE makes a bunch of money. No,
it's not like Roman Reigns.
The wrestlers need to get paid. Roman Reigns needs to get paid. Cody Rhodes is getting paid because of Roman Reigns. Worrying about billionaires making more billions. Cares about them. I care about the wrestlers. That's who Roman is out here feeding.
Yeah, I don't care about the wrestlers. I don't care about the
wrestlers. Why'd The Rock come back? Because he saw what Roman Reigns was doing. He saw what the tribal chief was doing.
Well, that's why Cody came back to the WWE, you're saying? From AEW.
That's why Cody came back. That's why The Rock came back. Because they all saw what the tribal chief was doing. Worrying about what the billionaires are making. Shame. Like Cody. Just a true Cody fan. Right there. How can the rich get richer? No, let's lift the middle class like Roman Reigns has been doing.
That's insane how you're somehow able to
politicking over here. Politician over here.
Twist my words like that. Dude.
Acknowledge the tribal chief.
My point is that you're over here defending Roman Reigns making millions and millions and millions more. And my point was, I don't really care how much money Roman Reigns is making. And I really don't care how much money the company's making at the end of the day. Like, dollars and cents exactly, but I think the company strongly cares about who's making that money, and that's how they're deciding on who's getting what spots they're getting is based on how much money they're bringing in. That's why it's important to them, and why Cody's in the spot that he's in, because he is the face of the company. He is making them the most money. He makes all the appearances, like I said, all the stuff with all the countries getting behind him. He's getting massive. He's the face of the whole thing. And if he wasn't making the company the most money, he wouldn't be that guy. And maybe Roman would be that guy again, and maybe he would never stop being that guy if he worked more often. But I'm not going to put that on him and say like he should be wrestling more. I think that's badass. If I could go to work 6 days a year and make the same amount of money, I would absolutely do that. I'm not going to say I wouldn't do that, but Cody Rhodes is built different. He wants to do the work.
Why is Cody in this position though?
Because he's the best.
Roman Reigns decided to go. Roman Reigns decided to step away. That's why Cody's in this position.
Okay, let me ask you this: if Cody didn't do it, was your expectation that Roman Reigns just held the championship literally forever, or what's your alternate? Who else beats him? Because you were big on Sami Zayn beating him in Montreal. I mean, do you really think that was the move still to this day to have Sami Zayn do that?
I only said that because my wife. I have to, happy wife, happy life. You got to be nice to the wife and understand and support her feelings and wants and desires. But if we're being honest here, Jensen, the tribal chief, that's the only person that matters.
I can't believe your arm is still fucking in the air right now, dude. It's been like 20 minutes, I feel like.
This is how much I love my tribal chief, Roman Reigns. This arm will fall off before I stop supporting Roman Reigns.
Next week, I'll bring my Cody Rhodes cutout in here and we'll put it behind me. I'll get a little more Cody love. Or maybe I'll go in front of the Cody background out in the other room. Your wife's DMing me. Let's see what your wife's saying. All right, Jeremy.
Can you tell her how much the cat out?
Damn it. I'm going to set her name. I will never say her name. I will never expose you guys on accident.
Yeah,
I know you guys like to stay secret. Yeah, we'll keep it kayfabe. She's just laughing. Sometimes I look at the DMs and like every now and then she's apologizing for you, and I always think that's really funny. But this is see Tyler saying, "What's the arm gimmick?" He's
acknowledge the tribal chief, Tyler.
You just can't see the one. But he's been holding that up since we started talking. I mean, I'm legitimately impressed. I don't think I could hold my arms up that long, nor would I even want to attempt it. Chi-Town Spurs.
Somebody to do bicep curls. I plank every day, brother. Just because the arms look skinny don't mean there ain't some strength in here, okay?
There you go. Chi-Town Spurs with the super chat. Thank you very much. Anyone who sends super chat, by the way, we will read your statements. We'll answer your questions, all that good stuff. Appreciate it very much. $5 super chat for Chi-Town Spurs says it's Cody Rhodes, not Cody Holmes, because he's not acknowledged in his hometown. Oh. I literally was reading that and processing it as I was reading it out loud just then. Hey, dude, y'all are getting me all day this morning. I'm off my A game. I'm getting trolled super hard. Hey, listen, it warms my heart that there's people here this morning with us, though. With the move from the main channel over to Overbooked, I do really appreciate you guys in the chat. Like I see a lot of activity. It's a lot of people that seem to be Roman Reigns fans, but we'll convert some of y'all over to the light side. I watched I don't know if you remember back in the day, but remember like the MTV True Life episodes back in the day. So there's this guy who's been like re-uploading old episodes of that. Try to get this focus a little bit better. And there was an episode that I love called True Life. I have embarrassing parents, and one of the parents is like a giant Star Wars nerd, and the kid like isn't. The kid's like a teenager.
Cody Rhodes.
But he's not into it at all. So like he goes to like a Star Wars convention with his dad, and his dad is like, he's like brought to tears because like, so his dad is like a Jedi. I don't know much about Star Wars, full disclosure, but his dad's on the good
There
side.
ain't no Jedi in Star Wars. I was thinking Star Trek. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
No, yeah, he's a good guy and he's like a good guy. He's a baby face in Star Wars. He dresses up like Obi-Wan or whatever at this convention, and his son goes with no interest in Star Wars at all, and winds up seeing the stormtroopers walking around, and he's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like I'll dress up as one of those guys if there's like a suit for me that I can wear for that. And the dad is brought to tears because he's just so touched that his son is like getting it at all. He's just like, I just love that my son wants to be a part of this. But he's also constantly talking about converting him over to the good side. He's like, you're on the bad team. Like, you know, I like that you're into this now, but like, we need to get you over to my side. And that's our chat right now.
You don't need Let the chat decide for themselves who they like. And they like the tribal chief. Put your one up, Jensen. Acknowledge the tribal chief.
There you go. Since they're teaming together.
Thank you. Because
your wife said that you're being diabolical. I know he is.
Cody needs.
There's no combating.
Cody needs to be on the island of relevancy. That's why.
Right now, that's the move. I think. Hey, I'm going to say this. I think they both need one another. It isn't one. This isn't a one-way street. They need one another. They both need each other. This isn't just a Cody thing. This is a Cody and a Roman thing. Hey, okay. So if Roman isn't doing this with Cody, what's he doing? Just wrestling solo?
He's facing the bloodline. What are you talking about? What's he doing?
Yeah,
he's facing his family, and it's the top billing.
Can't do it by himself.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't. He need Cody.
He didn't need Cody at all.
He did.
No.
Why is he teaming with him then? Why did he give him the contract?
Because Cody's dork ass comes out there and is like, hey, hand me the contract, even though I said I was done with the bloodline.
Roman could have said, no, I'm good. I'm going to do this on my own. And
he feels bad for Cody.
He gave it to Cody.
For him.
He needs Cody. He
feels bad for him. What are you talking about? He needs Cody.
He needs someone to help with the fight.
In the cage.
He needs the best. He needs the best wrestler on the roster. He needs the best wrestler in the world to help. The guy who beat him. You need the guy who beat him at WrestleMania for the championship to help.
Cody was getting his ass beat in the cage. Here comes Roman Reigns coming down. He says, shut this cage door. I'm going to whoop all their asses by myself. And that's what he was doing. And then Cody says, I'm done. That's not my deal anymore. I don't want to do with that. Imagine that, Jensen. Imagine if you were just like, I'm not rooting for the Vikings anymore. I'm done rooting for the Vikings. You know what? They've let me down too many times. I'm done with them. And then all of a sudden, Sam Darnold throws one pass to Justin Jefferson. And he said, and you're like, oh, you know, I'm back. I'm back with the Vikings, baby. That's it. That's bullshit. That's fickle.
Ridiculous analogies. Cody needs Roman. Roman needs Cody. He
doesn't need it. He doesn't need him at all. What are you talking about? He needs him.
Let's move on a little bit here. Okay, listen.
Where was Cody? Where was Cody when Roman Reigns was the top guy still in the WWE, carrying WWE programming? Where was Cody? Failing in his own company.
Oh, no.
Failing in his own company.
No, this is we're going to be talking for the next hour about this. Listen, agree or disagree? This is mainly being done to eventually get to Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton.
I don't know that. I don't know what's being done.
If this gets to that point, does it make sense to you? Like if because of this story and when we get a Bad Blood, Randy Orton turns on Cody Rhodes, because that would make sense storyline wise, and then we get Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the World Championship, on a major pay-per-view, do you have a problem with how any of this played out?
I have a problem with Cody inserting himself in this. Yeah. And I would understand Randy. I would understand Randy of being like,
hey,
yeah, you know what, Cody? You're kind of being a little bitch trying to decide with Roman Reigns.
Let's flip the script a little bit here also. Okay.
Why would
well, because this is based on something that you said earlier. You said that Cody, what would he do on Bad Blood? He couldn't get booked on his show in his own hometown.
Yeah. Is
that on him or is that on the company for not having challengers ready for him?
That's on him.
How's that on him? It's not his job to build.
He's the champion.
It's not his job to build the contenders. It's their job to step up when they get in a position to get in the ring with him.
He's the champion.
Deliver. But it's on the company to have people ready for him.
Why are you blaming the company?
Because it's their. Because everything we're talking about is booked by them. It's all their decision.
You're way too focused on the company. Oh, I care how much the company is making. Oh, I care that the company can't book people. You know who doesn't give a fuck about the company, is just doing his own thing and doing it at the highest level? Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns steps away, who cares about the company? Roman Reigns looking out for himself. This is the problem with you, Jensen. Yeah. You're worried about the billionaires. Worry about the working people out here, like Roman Reigns is doing.
Like Cody Rhodes, when he also quit, and when he quit, he went ahead and just created the main competition for the WWE and created all these jobs for other people. Listen, I think it was like, I think there was a lot. I think when Roman left during the pandemic, when he like disappeared for a while, that was probably the best thing he ever did for his career. Like, for the timing, just the way things worked out, and when he returned and the way that they turned him heel, it was the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm not saying like the pandemic was good, like obviously, but y'all know the point that I'm making. Like, for whatever reason, like the timing of him leaving the company when he did, and I totally understand the reason he did for his health. I would have done the same thing if I was him, but it's just one of those things where, like, you're right. He has stepped away from the company before. He has stepped away. And then when he came back, he was bigger and better than ever. And that's happening. He did it for himself. And he's doing it right now with the way he's coming back after being on from WrestleMania. He's bigger than he's ever been. He's getting huge babyface reactions. And by the way, we're not even talking about this, but I think ultimately, yeah, we have Roman and Cody on SmackDown right now as the two biggest babyfaces in the entire company. But we have Netflix Raw right around the corner. You don't think one of those two guys is going to wind up on that show? Probably. I totally expect, like, they're going to split these two guys up sooner than later. They're not going to be on the same show for long. And now you're going to have a situation where you have a massively over top babyface on one show and Roman Reigns, and another massively over top babyface on SmackDown. You're going to have Raw and SmackDown with legitimate top good guy stars, which WWE, when's the last time they really had that? Guys of this level on both shows carrying this thing. And that's where they're getting with this.
Here's where I'm going to leave it, Jensen. Roman Reigns does things for Roman Reigns, and it helps the company, and it helps others. Cody Rhodes does things for the company. That's the difference between the two. Cody Rhodes is caring about the people who are already billionaires. And if it helps others, okay, fine, sure. Roman Reigns is looking out for himself and his family. And if it helps the billionaires, okay, fine, sure. Okay. But look at the difference between the two. Roman Reigns cares about the working class, the middleman, the middle class. Cody Rhodes is trying to help all the people who are already millionaires, trying to scare their taxes, things like that.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is feeding billionaires. Great. They can feed themselves. Roman Reigns is feeding the world.
I cannot believe you're still holding your hand up.
Because I respect
and
honor my tribal chief and the head of the table.
Yeah.
Are we done? Conversation done?
Roman getting it. I kind of want to stretch it out because you have to keep your arm up longer. Boris says,
I'm not breaking on this, by the way.
Roman getting his family off the indies. His family members have big families. What a great guy. Listen, right. Y'all are going to act like I'm not over here hyping up Zillifa 2 on a weekly basis on the weekend.
What's Cody doing? Oh, he's got people in NXT. That's it. He's bringing people to NXT, the third brand. Roman Reigns is getting them top spots.
If you want me to stand up for Cody, dude, we only have an hour and a half long show before I gotta clock in for work. We got 45 minutes here. Jeremy, listen, you've made some points. You've made some really bad points.
I only need to make one point, and it's the point to the sky to acknowledge the tribal chief. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Listen, you came prepared today. I didn't expect. I thought we were going to be celebrating this union of two of our favorite wrestlers finally teaming up, but instead you've gone the you've right angled this. You've gone a complete 180, and what do you want me to say? I stand very firm on Cody should be the WWE champion. He's a great WWE champion, and I'm totally fine with the fact that I'm going to be there live in Atlanta watching these two guys team up, and the place is going to be going absolutely nuts for it. And Cody can't lose the championship in front of me either, which I love.
Cody Rhodes in Atlanta.
Exactly. No pop.
Not
that is so insanely wrong, Jeremy. To say that Cody Rhodes isn't going to get a pop in Atlanta is completely insane. That's too much trolling. You can say all the other stuff you just said, but to even insinuate that Cody Rhodes is going to be over in Atlanta is crazy.
Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman.
Or as far as if this was a debate, though, I'll concede. I think Jeremy probably won if this was an actual debate. I'll give it to y'all in the comments that I'm not good at debating, by the way. I think too logically to debate people. Anyways, I think there's some people who are really good at just arguing. Like whether they're right or wrong, they're just really good at arguing. I'm not great at arguing. I'm just not.
Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. That might have been my greatest performance ever, if we're being honest.
Honestly, you saved that for us after we got moved. You finally fucking go off. Thanks, man. Well, maybe that'll
welcome people to the show in the right way. Well, I can't help it that this is how it was booked.
I also feel like we have a little bit more leniency here. Like I'm a little less concerned with like saying you're doing something really fucking stupid over here. Like I don't feel like I feel like it's normal, Anyway. Yeah, what was the next topic? Bronson Reed and
Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. Yeah.
Yeah, it was badass, dude. They're all over the arena. I think this is something we can both agree on. The WWE, I don't think WWE should like necessarily do more of this. You know what I mean? I would like to see it more often, but like I think that it was pretty special. Like we don't see stuff like this where like it starts off pretty normal and then. They're going through the barricade, going into the crowd, going backstage, going through walls. I mean, it was literally break everything we possibly can find. And with two guys like that, because ultimately there was no winner, right? It ended after like the spear through the wall.
It ended like 2 seconds into the match when the
but I mean they kept
ring broke.
Well, I mean, sorry, I didn't even mention the actual ring breaking, of course, but. I think what I meant is like the whole fight ended like after I think like Strowman like speared him like through the wall in the back and then they were both laid out. And I mean they're doing everything they can to build Bronson as a monster, right? With like the attacks on Seth and all the tsunamis and everything. And Strowman, historically speaking for the company, has been a monster, but he has a lot of like, a lot of highs and lows. Like he'll get really strongly pushed. Like I remember he beat Goldberg at WrestleMania for the title like a few years ago, and then like nothing really came of that at all. I mean, well, that's because Roman eventually came back, right?
Because Roman stepped away, so Braun Strowman could sit at the table. Another kind thing that he did for the company.
Right. Yeah. There you go. And by the way, just for the record, y'all, not to get too sentimental or sappy or like we're having a good time here, but I saw some comments. I just want to clarify. I saw like I think y'all are joking anyway. Like cancer is the best thing that ever happened to Roman because he left and came back or whatever. Like just
I don't know if even put sarcasm.
Yeah, there. No, I know it's sarcasm, but like just for people who don't know, who like aren't in the comments, like I have like my mom, my aunt, my grandma, all breast cancer. My best friend literally right now is battling breast cancer. Like, so it's one of those things where like, I don't joke about cancer at all. So it's just that I just want y'all to know that about me on a personal level. I rarely get like real and sappy about anything, but that's like the one thing that I just want people to know that I'm never joking or making light about that personally, just so y'all know.
I don't think anybody would.
No, I don't think so either, but we're on a new channel, and there might be some people that are watching that don't know me, so I just wanted to let people know that about me, that I'm very big on supporting, helping those causes. So anyways, that all said, I mean, yeah, this was badass, dude. Bronson and I think that Strowman needed something like this, right? Because like he needs to continue to, if he's gonna be, because he's in this position similar to like Omos, where like he needs to be an attraction, but Strowman has been exposed more as far as like he's had a lot more matches. He should be booked probably more consistently on the show, but like Big Show had this problem historically in his career too. Like he would get overexposed. Like you see him so many times that eventually it stops being as special, and then he starts taking some losses, and then like it's just not as big of a deal. And I feel like you need to avoid that with Strowman because he is so huge. He is talented. Like for a guy his size, he moves very, very, very well. So it's, you know what I mean? It's one of those things like you have to be really careful with how you book a guy like Braun Strowman, and you're trying to do the same with Bronson Reed right now as well. And I think what they did on Monday was awesome, because I think it actually helps both guys. Like because it basically makes it look like if either of those guys were fighting anyone else, they would destroy anyone but the other. And maybe, I mean, dude, I could totally see sometime down the line those guys being a tag team. I think that's pretty bad.
Don't do that.
Dude, I'm not talking about like right now. I'm talking about like down the line, once like some of these feuds are over and they might not have much going on for one another. I mean, hell, any partner is better than Nicholas, right? But I was there.
Former tag team champion Nicholas. How are you going to criticize this man,
dude? And he's got an action figure. He's got to build a figure. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, there's an action figure line, like one of those Mattel series that came out like last year. They a lot of the time now they'll have build a figures in there, so they'll like you buy a full action figure and then there's like a piece of someone else in there. So if you buy the whole set, you put all the pieces together and you make your own figure yourself. And Nicholas was the Build-A-Figure for a series like a year ago, which was really cool. Like that's awesome for that kid, who's now I'm sure like a man. I was there live at that WrestleMania, by the way, and I was so confused because everyone thought it was going to be Bobby Lashley returning to the WWE from TNA and from Bellator and everything, and instead it was this random kid out of the crowd, and then Lashley wound up re-debuting for the company the next night on Raw. I'll never forget that. But anyways, that's a sidebar. Rob says Nicholas is now 36. That can't be true because I'm 36. I know that's not true. But I bet Nicholas is like driving a car.
I would think so. Well, maybe. Yeah.
Because WrestleMania, this is WrestleMania what, 34?
Yeah.
In New Orleans?
Yeah.
So that was
he
6
10
years ago?
Yeah, if he was 10, then
he's probably right around the age of driving a car, probably.
Yeah.
Time flies. We're getting old.
Yeah.
Rob, good luck at the gym, bro. I'm happy that you're sticking with that. That's very impressive. I need to get back on my push-ups and stuff myself. Rob says he's going to the gym. That's why I'm saying that.
Oh, good on you, Rob. Just hold your arm up in the air for an hour. That's a good one.
I'm honestly impressed that Jeremy was able to do that. Yeah, we can move on.
we don't have to. I understand my arms look small and frail, but I plank every day, so I got some strength here.
I'm not. It doesn't matter. Like that's holding your arms up that long. I think is difficult regardless. So like AC Mack used to do this. Shout out to AC Mack, who's currently retired from independent wrestling, but hopefully he comes back one day. But that's all his prerogative. If he's enjoying retirement, he's enjoying retirement. But as a fan, I'd like to see him come back. My point is, whenever he was the champion somewhere, and he was almost always the champion somewhere, he would always make the referee or the ring announcer. Oh, did I lose you? Did I lose Jeremy, or can you guys see me, or is it me? Or
yeah,
Jeremy?
it was me.
Oh, it was Jeremy. Okay,
yeah.
I was just saying whenever AC Mack had a championship, he'd make the ring announcer or the referee hold the title belt up over their heads the entire time he would do his intro, and he would do like these long intros, and you would see like them like their arms like shaking because they're holding these titles for so long over their heads, and you weren't holding a title, but I still think it's impressive to hold your arm up that long. Anyway, let's move on, dude. We're gonna be out of time.
All right, let's move on to AEW here if I can find the bumper. Okay. There we go.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
They have announced Ricochet against Will Ospreay for the October 2nd episode of AEW Dynamite 5th year anniversary. Are they giving away this too soon and for free, Jensen?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, it was a match we all knew we were going to get, right? And I think that's why you're asking that question. But is it too soon? I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I really more so have an issue with like Ospreay being involved with like the tag team titles right now while he's also the international champion. But I also get the story with like him and the Don Callis family that they're trying to work right now as well with Kyle Fletcher and Takeshi and everything last night. So it's just there's a lot going on with in like the world of Ospreay on the show. But one of those things that we all knew was going to happen. It was inevitable. They've both been talking about it since they've both been in AEW is to have a Ricochet and Ospreay match. The main thing isn't to me so much when they're going to do the match. It's will the match live up to the expectations? That's the main question for me.
That's just going to be on what your expectations are. If you think it's going to be a 7-star classic, then that's a pretty high expectation to hit. If you think it's going to be a really great TV match that is probably 4 3/4 to 5 stars, then okay, that's maybe a little bit more reason. That's still pretty high expectations though. Like it's TV. I don't know how much time they're going to get. It's the anniversary episode too. So I imagine they're going to stack this with some pretty big matches and pretty big segments. So I don't know if it's going to get, 20 minutes or anything. It could very easily get 20 minutes. I mean, Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy got 20 minutes last night. I think you could make 20 minutes for Ospreay and Ricochet. So you could very easily get 20 minutes and do just fine, but it depends on what your expectations are, really.
Well, I don't even necessarily mean like my own expectations. I think just like the overall audience is going to have really high expectations because the whole reason this match is happening so soon and why they've been talking about it since Ricochet, came into AEW is because of the previous matches these guys have had with one another. And like those matches have kind of like taken on a life of their own as far as like they're polarizing matches. Like some people absolutely love them and think they're like the greatest thing that's ever happened. And some people think they're, it's too choreographed and like it isn't for them. But I think ultimately I just feel like there's going to be a lot of hype behind this. Like I think in general, people's expectations are going to be really, really high. And I think that people that might not be familiar with the matches that these guys have had previously with one another, they're probably going out of their way to watch those matches now in the build up to their match on AEW if they haven't seen them before. And if they see those and they're like mind blown, they're like, holy shit, they're about to do this on AEW. And then like, they don't. That, you know what I mean? That's really kind of more where I'm coming from. I think there's going to be a lot of people with really, really high expectations for this. Now, similar to like, this is a little bit different, but it just kind of reminded me of like when they did Jericho versus Nick Gage on AEW. That like, it was one of those things where like I knew it's like Nick Gage is going to have a match on AEW. I'm obviously very familiar with Nick Gage. I cover the indies. I watch every GCW show. So I know what to expect out of Nick Gage. But I'm thinking like, can they actually do the real Nick Gage stuff on AEW? And they wound up doing it. Like I thought his match with Jericho was awesome. And it actually like fully represented a death match on the Turner networks. A very different type of match than what I expect out of Ospreay and Ricochet. But the reason I bring that match up is for similar reasons where like, I do have a preconceived expectation of what an Ospreay versus Ricochet match can look like. So I'm expecting it to be pretty mind-blowing because they're getting the opportunity to do it in front of potentially millions of people now. Way more people should theoretically see this match than have seen any of their matches previously, probably combined. So like I feel like it's going to be in their minds to go out there and just blow everyone's minds out there. I think that's what their goal is going to be for this match. So that's why I'm saying that. I think the expectations for us as fans is going to be really high, and I also think the expectations for Ospreay and Ricochet and for Tony Khan and the company, I think they're all expecting big things out of this match.
They've got to do, and I think they will, but they've got to do a little bit more background on this match for people who maybe don't understand of why is Will Ospreay versus Ricochet a big deal. The same thing with Danielson and Nigel. That was a little bit different because Nigel had spent a year, that's certainly months. Okay.
You're back. I lost you right after you said that Nigel was coming back, basically.
Okay, so they had spent a year, certainly months, with Nigel burying Danielson on commentary. So you had, if you were just watching AEW, you had history there. Like you knew what the history was just based on Nigel's commentary. If, let's just say, I know this isn't always how it works, but we gotta play to various audiences. We can't assume that everyone knows every single history of Will Ospreay and Ricochet and everything. Sure. Let's just say you're an AEW fan who just watches AEW. What is the big deal between Will Ospreay and Ricochet besides the fact that Will Ospreay confronted him backstage, or Ricochet confronted him backstage and was like, get your wins up, and now Ricochet has won, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do this match. You got to show some footage of the New Japan stuff, talk about some stuff, whatever you can do, and I think they will. They've proven they've done this with the with Nigel and Danielson. The difference here that I'm a slightly more concerned, whereas I wasn't with Nigel and Danielson, was Ospreay's got a match next week against Young Bucks teaming with Fletcher, and then it's the match. So your only big opportunities are maybe two episodes of Collision this week and the following week, and next week's Grand Slam, which is the place to do it. I'm worried that they try to do it when they also have the tag team match. Like they should. It shouldn't stop them. I just worry that we need to focus on the tag team match. We're not going to show anything when it comes to Ospreay and Ricochet. If you want to see that stuff, go online or watch Collision. So they've got 3 shows to do it. I suspect they will, and I hope they do, and give people that background of why this match is bigger than just, Ricochet beat Fletcher and Beast Mortos and Sammy Guevara, so now he's got this match. Ospreay is doing this tag team thing, but he's also got this match. Like, give some extra background on it.
I might have missed you saying this, but did you mention whether or not they have rights to air any of the footage of their previous matches on AEW?
They have a partnership with New Japan. I can't imagine that New Japan is going to play some type of hardball on this. I mean, maybe they will, but it's not as cut and dry as ROH footage with Danielson and Nigel, where of course they have that footage. That's theirs. They own all of that. Ospreay and Ricochet took place in Rev Pro, which again, they have a partnership with.
Right.
New Japan, they have a partnership with. I don't think it would be that difficult of, hey, can we use this footage?
Yeah, they need to do that. That's a big key to this, is showing that footage on AEW television, preferably showing it on Dynamite rather than Collision. I mean, honestly, preferably showing it on both. Excuse me. But I just haven't, just full disclosure, I just haven't been watching Collision hardly at all lately. I've just been catching the highlights and stuff. I think that's the mode that everyone's in right now. Rampage,
Collision is a show.
I heard Rampage might be going away. Or not heard. I just saw tweets about that, I should say. I didn't hear anything about that.
There's talks that it might not be part of the new TV deal, and they get replaced with Shockwave. Nothing's been confirmed on what's going to happen with Rampage and Shockwave and whatever else they decide to do.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, at the end of the day, really my whole point, so to answer your question or whatever, would be that I think that the best way of getting the crowd hyped up for this match that wouldn't have knowledge of their previous matches would just be simply to show highlights of their previous matches on AEW TV. But then once again, that's going to set a pretty high bar and expectation for the audience, right? Like they're going to see clips of that match and be like expecting to see that type of stuff, the next week on AEW between the two. So, but I think, by the way, I haven't said this. I think they're going to deliver. I think that Ricochet versus Ospreay is going to be an awesome match. I think they're going to hit and exceed expectations with this thing because they themselves know the expectations are high and they're going to want to exceed the expectations. So, I think part of what I've been saying might have come off a little negative, I don't think they're going to be able to live up to the hype. I actually think the opposite. I think they're going to live up to the hype, but I just think there's going to be a lot of expectations going into it.
It's gonna be different than the match years ago as well. Like it kind of has to be. You're not going to do the same match that you did in 2018. Like both wrestlers have changed and grown since then. So
Literally
I don't think people
too, physically. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think people should expect we're going to get this exact same kind of performance. I imagine they'll do some callback stuff. They'll do the superhero spot and things like that. But they've changed as wrestlers. Ospreay he's still the aerial assassin, but he's incorporated a lot more striking into his stuff. Ricochet still does a lot of the athletic things that he could do 8 years ago, 8 years ago. I'm terrible at that. 6 years ago. He still does a lot of those things, but some of the stuff he doesn't do anymore. They're just they're not completely different, but they are different wrestlers. And again, different environment, different setting. I don't think you're going to get the exact same match. I think it's going to be a good match, just in a different way. Now, who do you think? Who do you think should win though? Because are you beating Ricochet this early into his run, or are you taking Ospreay? Are you taking the title off of Ospreay with? I don't think he's got one title defense. Pac was his only title defense after beating MJF at All In.
Me personally, I'm keeping it on Ospreay, but I could understand if they want to go with Ricochet to try to not kill his momentum coming in, but I think Ricochet can ricochet right back to just have him start beating people again after he loses to Ospreay. I think what you're saying too is also pretty apparent because of since Ricochet came into AEW, he's been using that finisher of the lifting reverse DDT, almost like the Michinoku driver that he's been doing instead of doing a shooting star press or a 630. Part of that to me, I think he's probably waiting to bust some of this stuff out for the Ospreay match, but then also he also similar to Ospreay wants to set a precedent probably of I'm not saying that he's physically incapable of doing this stuff anymore, but for his body's sake and stuff, he probably doesn't want to have to do a 630 and a shooting star press and stuff every match anymore. And if he can still stay over, it's the working smarter, not harder mentality, right? Which I think wrestlers eventually kind of need to do. Ospreay, it's way easier on him to hit someone with a hidden blade than it is for him to go up top and do one of those spiral tap type moves he does and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's way less risky. I mean, you're still almost hitting someone in the back of the head and stuff. I mean, that's risky, but obviously they're being very protected when they do that kind of stuff. But my point is, I think Ricochet is kind of starting to set that expectation for himself of I'm already over. I don't need to do these crazy moves every single match. I'm going to establish some different type of finishing moves. And, then that way people aren't expecting me to go up top and hit a 630 every time they see me. So I
would keep the title on Ospreay. I think Ricochet will be okay if he loses, because I imagine Ospreay and Fletcher are going to lose against the Bucks. I don't think Ospreay's taking the fall, by the way. I think Fletcher's getting penned if anybody gets penned, but
sure.
Yeah, I don't think Ospreay is losing, but he's going to lose the match as a teammate of Kyle Fletcher's. So I would have Ospreay. I'd still have him hold this title, and I think Ricochet will be okay. And I think it's going to build towards a rematch anyway. I don't think this is going to be the last time we see Ospreay and Ricochet against each other this year. The rematch could honestly be as soon as Wrestle Dream. They might run it back in 2 weeks at Wrestle Dream. And to that point, wouldn't rule out a time limit finish. They've been doing
that's a good call.
They've been doing a lot of non-finishes lately. I mean, they did a non-finish in the women's tag team match last night. That was odd to me. of what you're just gonna do. You can't beat Serena Deeb or Queen Amanada here. Yuka Sakazaki's about to challenge for the title, and you do a non-finish. Like, you have Mariah hit her with the title instead of just beating Serena Deeb. No knock on Serena Deeb, but like, she can lose a tag team match. I think it's fine. So they've been doing a fair amount of non-finishes lately, certainly more than they did the first few years of the company. And maybe that's why it stands out as more. Maybe it's not a whole lot on the whole, but when, the first few years of the company, they did like one time limit draw and never did any type of DQ. So now that we had 2 time limit draws leading up to All In. Again, we just had a DQ last night. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to a time limit draw.
I think that's probably a good call. That's something that, excuse me, that's something that I don't consider often enough when I'm making my AEW predictions. Is that like that is way more of a possibility of them doing that. And I don't necessarily dislike it, by the way, like, because if we're thinking realistically speaking, there probably would be more draws than, I think it makes sense. Like, it's actually, we should probably see it a little more often in the WWE, honestly, if we're like, is my point. Maybe across the wrestling world, let me put it this way. I'd rather see like a time limit draw than like a DQ finish or like a stupid ref bumper. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather see that more often than the ref bumps and the interferences and stuff.
No, I'm with you on that. I'd much rather a time limit draw than like DQ. Feels like you can get away with it. It builds a rematch, but a time limit draw also makes sense. Like, oh, these guys are pretty equal. And all right, like, how often do we see, we're both big UFC fans. We just saw it this past weekend. A decision. Not every fight has a finish. Sometimes it goes 25 minutes. Okay, we know who the better man is in the 25 minutes. You get rounds, you get scorecards and everything, but not everybody can be finished in a fight. So it does make sense of like, oh, these guys for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for an hour, these guys were equal for that period of time, and it went to a time limit draw. Like, that makes sense. You don't see a ton of DQ finishes in the UFC. I understand wrestling's different. You can introduce foreign objects and things like that, but decision, like, time limit draws make sense if you look at it in the way of, oh, they basically just went to a decision. And in this case, a champion just retains because that's the champion's advantage. You don't necessarily have to win the title. You have to beat the champion.
Yes. And it's also a good way. A time limit draw is a great way to build a rematch that makes sense between those two people. I mean, so, and like in the UFC, you rarely see DQs, but you do see a lot of decisions. The last DQ that I can remember, I'm sure there's been some since, but like a couple years ago, and this ties into pro wrestling, and it ties into me and my enjoyment of, gambling, allegedly. There was a fight, if y'all are familiar with CM Punk's UFC career, the second guy that he fought was a guy named Michael Jackson, and that's not a joke. And Michael Jackson fought another guy after CM Punk, but it was a few years later. And I wound up putting some money on Michael Jackson because he was a humongous underdog because he's the second worst fighter in UFC history. Y'all figure out how who the first worst ever was. But Michael Jackson fought this dude, and I put some money on him, and the dude kicked him in the nuts twice in the first round and got disqualified, and I won. Like, I couldn't believe it. So every now and then those DQs do happen, and they can be better. They could benefit you. But yeah, I'm with you. We can move on to the next topic. But yeah, I know you wanted to talk about a certain AEW tag team.
Yeah, the Outrunners. These guys rule.
They do rule. They do. This is pretty unexpected. They're coming like out of nowhere, just super over. Like, good for them. I knew that those guys from like OVW for like a long time. But yeah, I don't know how this really happened. I mean, it seems pretty organic. I don't watch all of the AEW shows, so like on like a consistent basis, I always watch Dynamite, but it's like I knew of those guys, and their names are awesome, right? Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd are like such sweet these are like 80s pro wrestler names or like 90s names. You know what I mean? Like, that reminds me of like when I was a kid, the stuff I'd see on like Saturday morning cartoons and stuff. Like I get why they're over, and I hope they stay over. And it's just a matter of like AEW capitalizing on this, because this is great. Like, it's great seeing people organically get over versus being shoved down someone's throats or like being, you know, manufactured too much and kind of forcing stuff. Like this is badass. Good for those guys. And they're different, you know, they got a different type of look, a different type of vibe about them. And I feel like you can actually go with these guys. And AEW is in need of good tag teams. Like they have a lot of tag teams, a lot of tag team wrestlers and stuff, but like, you know, I think that their tag team division is a little bit lackluster as far as like, I think the Young Bucks as the champions, you know, people not as into it as probably they should be, given, you know, the positions of the Young Bucks and stuff. We have the trios titles and stuff kind of in shambles, all this stuff. Like you got like a legitimate tag team here that's like a homegrown team that you can push based off of the reactions they're getting right now. So good for those guys.
Yeah, they were losing a lot before they finally, I think they beat August Matthews and Davey Bang on Collision, and that was like their first big televised win. And now they're teaming with FTR this week. They kind of aligned with FTR this past Saturday on Collision, and they've just gotten over through honestly just character and losing. Like it's not like they've been heavily pushed as this team who has been winning. It's just they've made the most of their minutes when they've lost, but they've been on television. They've done good on social media. Their social media videos do well. They're really committed to the gimmick, which also helps of being the youngest men alive. They were on Jericho's podcast yesterday. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I'm sure you saw the quote going around about the Undertaker and everything. That got
no, I haven't. Please educate me.
Oh,
please educate me.
Okay, so they were on Twitter and they said something of like, yeah, we're not shaking hands with anybody, you know, we're not doing that. And somebody replied to them like, oh, the Undertaker would have kicked your ass back in the day. And so they're talking with Jericho and they're like, what do you think, Chris? You think the Undertaker would have kicked our ass? And Jericho's like, I don't know. And they're like, I've seen his tan. He could do anything. And then I think it was Truth is like, we actually knew old Big Red from World Class Championship Wrestling when Big Red was getting started. And then Chris like, oh, really? And like, yeah, you know, he said, oh, can you check out my match? And I said, Mark, which I found out later was his actual name. He's like, oh, so you're just calling him a Mark. He's like, yeah. Truth is like, I said, Mark. I don't know if I'm frozen. Okay.
No, you're good now.
He's like, I said, Mark. Okay. I said, Mark, it's a good thing you're walking around here like a zombie because you're killing this town, brother. And then Turbo Floyd flung a cucumber at him, and that was it.
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. And Jericho's like buying this. He's like, wait, what? You guys knew Undertaker back
in the day? I mean, Jericho, like, he's playing with it. It's a bit. Like,
he's playing
I don't think Jericho's dumb enough to think that these guys were world class.
No, either do I. But I mean, just sometimes stuff will kind of catch you off guard, right? Like if like someone tells you something you're not expecting it, and you're like, maybe what they're telling me could be true. I don't know how old these guys actually are. They're talking to me. But no, that's hilarious. I gotta listen to that. I don't know how that slipped under my radar. I've been swamped at the shoot job for, you know, things have been nuts the last few days, so I've been missing stuff. But yeah, good for those guys. Good for those guys.
They're very, very funny. And yeah, it's cool to see them get over because, as you mentioned, like it's an organic thing that the crowd is now taking to them. And this is where you've got to kind of strike with these guys, like putting them in a tag team with FTR who have kind of cooled off and doing that kind of like fine. But man, at some point you got to strike and just go with these guys and see if it works, because the Young Bucks they're one of the greatest tag teams ever. I'm not gonna sit here and like knock the Bucks, but this title run,
not good.
Like this title run has been pretty cold and flat, and the whole thing ever since they attacked Tony Khan, it's been kind of downhill since then. And like maybe they're waiting for Kenny to return, but we don't know when that's gonna happen. And at some point, you got to do other things before Kenny actually returns. So I would go with the Outrunners sooner rather than later, actually, and like have them beat guys again. Don't just team them with FTR and maybe they win some all-star tag team matches, like, or they beat local talent or enhancement talent. Like they need to beat actual teams on your company, because I think that's something AEW is averse to way too often is the only people who lose are the losers. And at some point, you got to beat people who actually win.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of similar in way to like how like the Acclaimed got over, like they got over organically on the show, and then they wound up becoming the AEW Tag Team Champions. They were massively over in those matches with Swerve and Keith Lee for the title and stuff. And they can do the same for the Outrunners. And the last thing I'll say, because I know we gotta speed through the last few topics here before I clock in for the shoot job, but on a side note, just because the Outrunners kind of remind me of this guy, push Jack Jameson. I've been seeing him getting more looks on the shows lately, and he's our boy. And he's great on the microphone. And I think him with the Iron Savages, like they could be doing more with those guys. So like not only the Outrunners, they have also some other teams too that I think they can be doing a little more with that are also kind of homegrown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We love Jack Jameson, and the Iron Savages are Iron Savages. I almost want to say Gates of Agony. But yeah, Iron Savages, Bronson and Boulder, they're fantastic. So yeah,
dude, their taunt is eating ass, dude. Like I mean, it doesn't get any more mainstream than that. I mean, that's like what they do, like
eating ass and showing tits.
Yeah, it's great.
That's what they do, baby. All right,
USA, baby, let's go.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Speedball Mike Bailey regained the X Division championship at TNA Victory Road. He beat Zachary Wentz after Wentz won it 2 weeks before in Ultimate X. What did you make of this kind of hot potatoing of the title here?
We actually talked about this like a couple weeks ago. I think you maybe even were the one who threw out like this whole scenario of, you know, basically the X Division championship being used as more of like, not a prop, but you know what I mean? Like it was used more for like the Rascals feud and like the match with Wesley and stuff like that because of the crossover with the two shows. So it just kind of feels like, excuse me, it kind of feels like Wentz won the title specifically for the Rascals feud. And then like, it just made sense to go back to Speedball. I have no problem with Speedball being the X Division champion. Like he probably of everyone on that roster, he's probably the person I want to hold the championship the most. So I have no problems with anything, but it came to this. Like I don't really have an issue with them hot potatoing because I think it led to it was something that like worked for a kind of a bigger cause for a short time. But I think you actually called a few weeks ago that this would probably happen. Exactly what wound up happening.
I did say that if you're going to put the title on Wentz, then he needs to basically beat Wesley, because what's the point of putting the title on him and then having him lose? That doesn't make any sense to me. And then he did beat Wesley. They're going to face again in Chicago at NXT. Wesley's probably going to win that match in the street fight. So I understand the hot potatoing here. And I think it makes sense. It's like you got the X Division title on NXT television for a show. You got it on an NXT PLE. You got him beating Wesley on a PLE as the X Division champion. That's capitalizing on what you are given. In that, like, the TNA product is what it is. They're going straight up the middle, but the TNA product is what it is when it comes to this stuff. And because they tape so much in bulk, it's not always easy for them to completely capitalize on stuff, on their storylines. And so if you have an opportunity to get your title featured on NXT television, maybe it brings in an extra viewer or two. And then those people maybe see Zachary Wentz lose to Speedball. And it's like, oh, the Speedball guy's really good. I'm going to keep watching TNA. Like, you never know how it's going to help in that sense. But it's better than just, okay, Zachary Wentz doesn't win the title in the Ultimate X match, and then he loses to Wesley, or he beats Wesley, but then the title isn't featured on there. It's like, maybe we'll check it out. But like, if he's a champion, it, in theory, gives you more incentive to watch the show. So I thought it was a smart move by them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like Pow Driver Finisher in the chat is saying he wants to see Speedball incorporated more on like WWE TV and NXT and stuff. And I totally agree with that. But I also have to believe that Shawn Michaels and like the crew at NXT has a list of the people that they're interested in featuring and people that they'd probably be interested in signing if and when they become available. And I don't know any insider information on this, but I have to I have to believe that Speedball is very high on that list of people that they want featured on their show. I mean, like, it's everyone knows how good Speedball Mike Bailey is. So I think it's just a matter of time.
I mean, yes, this is not a knock on Speedball. One, they have a lot of guys already. Two, I don't know if they see Speedball as a weekly television guy. Like, you look at the guys they're bringing in. One, they had Wentz was the guy they already were familiar with from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Hendry, complete television character, like great in those entertainment segments. Hammerstone, fantastic look. Also, some familiar like stuff with the MLW, like proven world champion, at least with MLW and everything. Well, he probably got high recommendation from a guy like Jacob Fatu as well.
Yeah.
Jordan Grace, knockouts champion. Like, I don't know if they see Speedball as like this television character that they're gonna bring in and utilize the whole time. Like, he can have great matches, we know that, but do they see him? NXT is a very dramatic show with the acting that goes on in that company. Does Speedball fit with any of that? I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but he would definitely have banger matches, and people would definitely be buzzing about his appearance, I think. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's no way that TNA, or sorry, there's no way that AEW, I'm saying every company but the one I mean to say. There's no way that NXT isn't aware of the greatness of Speedball. So next topic.
The other spotlight, Mistico. Mistico won the MLW Opera Cup. He defeated Bad Dude Tito and then Kenta in the finals.
Yeah. I thought the Opera Cup tournament this year was actually really solid. As far as on Fightland, this most recent MLW show, it's available for free on their YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to watch it. Excuse me, Kenta defeated TJP and Mistico defeated Bad Dude Tito. So the finals of the Opera Cup was Mistico over Kenta, and one with the La Mystica, though, like around the world Fujiwara armbar that he does, got the tap out win. Thought it was a solid match. They had like an 18-minute long match with one another for the Opera Cup finals. And I'm actually happy for Mistico. Like, this is the guy, for people who don't know, this is the guy who was Mistico. I'm probably getting some of this lore wrong because it gets really confusing, but he was the guy who was Mistico, and he was like a worldwide star and in like comic books and all this stuff. He came to WWS Sin Cara, pretty much flopped, and then like they had the fake Sin Cara that became the real Sin Cara. This Mistico Sin Cara went back to outside of WWE and became like Caristico and like had like a couple different names, and now he's Mistico again because he got the rights to it again. And so this guy's been through some massive ups and downs throughout his career, but now he's at a point where like he's really killing it. He's having great matches, and MLW is really pushing him. And he's already the I get a lot of their championships mixed up. He's their the middleweight champion right now, and Tito is the openweight champion. But so good for Mistico. And then I also just really quickly, because I'm almost out of time here, I wanted to quickly just mention, I hate to say it because I'm such a massive fan of Mads Cruel Kruger. We recently had him on the show. He had a shot at the MLW World Championship against Satoshi Kojima on this event as well. And unfortunately, it was a dud, literally. He threw a fireball that like did not land in that match to cause the DQ, and like Cruel should have just won the MLW Championship. This is all bias aside, based on the way he was pushed and the way that he took over Contra and the way that he was Fatu's last match, and like look where Fatu's at now and all this stuff. Like, they should have just put the title on Cruel, because now they're also teasing Riddle for the title, and they're teasing Riddle versus Cruel, but they're also teasing like Akira versus Cruel and all this stuff. They should have just put the title on Cruel. I like Kojima, but this was the right time to put it on Cruel. And not only did they make the wrong decision in not putting the title on him, the way that they had him do it with the fireball and the DQ and stuff, it literally didn't land how it was supposed to. And I think they did more harm than good, unfortunately, with that whole scenario. They should have just strapped up Cruel, in my opinion. So,
and not putting the title on him was an odd call, because one, the way they've pushed Cruel and the way they've gotten behind him. Two, like, it's Kojima. No knock on Kojima, legend, but he's a 54. I think he's 54 now. He's a 54-year-old wrestler who his best days are behind him, and I just don't think that does a whole lot for your company and it moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think he's also been like wrestling injured for a while too. So he's just really been like trucking through this as the champion. He kind of became the champion out of nowhere too. Like Alex Kane was having a solid run with the MLW title, and it feels like he just kind of beat him out of nowhere. He's had a solid run with it since, but like, yeah, this was the move for Cruel, and I feel like MLW dropped the ball here, unfortunately.
All right, our indie.
I want to give a big motherfucking shout out.
GCW related. GCW Art of War Games is returning the War Games match, and then Ciclope beating Blake Christian.
Yes, I will try to get through these quickly as I have to clock in for my shoot job here in just a minute. So War Games, I'll have to be reminded because I don't have it in front of me, but it's going to be...
I got it.
Because there's going to be... The Deathmatch Royalty team isn't full yet. They're going to have a mystery partner there somewhere.
Yeah, it's Janela, Megan Bain, Effie, and one called Manders against Cardona, Mance Warner, and Broski Jimmy. Steph DeLander is injured. She revealed on TNA she has a neck injury. So we will see who the final person for, maybe it's JBL, for War Games is for Team Deathmatch Royalty.
That'd be wild if it wound up being JBL. He has been linked to them. He did help Mance Warner retain the championship recently over well, I guess he technically helped him become the undisputed champion while also technically retaining. You'll know what I mean if you'll follow GCW. But yeah, there's not a whole lot more we can say other than like the match is announced, and that I believe is going to be October like 12th or something like that is when that actual show is.
Yeah, October 12th. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be covering that more when we get closer to it. We just want to give everyone a heads up that match has been set. And I'll do my best to get like somebody involved in that match, someone from GCW here on the show for an interview for y'all sometime around like the time of that match. We'll try to do something like that. So yeah, we got plenty we can talk about once it gets closer to War Games, but this all stems from the long-term story that's been played out between Deathmatch Royalty, Joey Janela and friends basically, and SGC versus Mance Warner, Cardona, Deathmatch Royalty, Broski Jimmy, and all of them. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight real quick or spotlight was that Ciclope, who recently Los Macizos, the most decorated team in GCW history, 4-time GCW Tag Team Champions, they recently broke up because Miedo Extremo turned on Ciclope after all these years. Ciclope made it clear that he is targeting the GCW World Championship and has been winning some big matches lately. Most recently, he defeated Blake Christian, who was the longtime GCW World Champion himself. And Ciclope winning is big as far as like his push towards the championship. It makes you know that GCW is very serious about him being a title contender, and there's still a lot brewing there. His feud between him and Miedo hasn't even really gotten started yet, so there's a lot that's going to play out there, of course, as well. But on the flip side, it's kind of jarring to see Blake Christian lose as often as he's been losing, because he did nothing but win pretty much for like over a year, whatever it was, leading up to becoming the GCW champion and then his actual GCW title run. So he's been on a bit of a losing streak, and I feel like that's either going to lead to like a character change for him, possibly going babyface again. Maybe he's leaving GCW. Maybe he's being signed long-term somewhere else. He's made a lot of Ring of Honor appearances and stuff. Like he was previously signed to the WWE. People don't even remember. He was Trey Baxter on like 205 Live and stuff for a very short time. So like eyes on bigger companies. He has eyes on him from bigger companies. So like I could see multiple scenarios where either Blake's just switching up his character and maybe turning babyface, going to stay with GCW. Maybe he's on a bit of a losing streak because he's on his way out and he's on to like a bigger company or something. I don't know. But I thought it was worth spotlighting, and for indie fans, keep your eyes on kind of those things playing out.
There you go, Jensen.
All right. I need to run over to my other computer. I work out of my office. This is my wrestling office. I've got my work office over in the other room in front of my Cody display. So yeah, I got to do that right now. Great seeing everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this show. We appreciate y'all. Hope you're going to enjoy this interview you're about to hear with Psycho Boy Fodder and Psycho Girl Angelina Love. A lot of fun. Great seeing everyone in the chat. Great seeing you, Jeremy. I'm clocking for the shoot job. Y'all have a great weekend, and Skol Vikings.
Bye, Jensen. Have a good day, buddy. All right, guys, let's get into it. We are joined in the creator spotlight. You have seen them on the show before. You've maybe seen them on NWA television last year. They've been popping up in AML, doing some great things in AML with Psycho Boy Fodder has been wrestling some ECW legends. Just wrapped up a storyline with Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley. That was a lot of fun. Check out his YouTube channel. The link is below. He's been posting promos. He's been posting matches. We've got a really in-depth conversation with Psycho Boy Fodder and Angelina Love, who fans may remember from her time in TNA. She just did a match against Athena in ROH last year. So really fun conversation. It was great having them back on the show. They are or fans of these people, and they're very generous with their time. So we appreciate that. Let me pull this up here. Let's it would help if I have things kind of together. All right, everybody, here we go. In the creator spotlight, Psycho Boy Fodder, Psycho Girl, Angelina Love.
Welcome to the creator spotlight here on the Spotlight and Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and our guests today are Psycho Boy Fodder and Psycho Girl Angelina Love. We got both of them back in the house. Psycho Love, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate it. How y'all been doing?
Literally in the house.
Yeah, in the house this time. In the house this time, not at the TV tapings, man. Yeah. So what's up with you guys, man? How are y'all?
Things are got some stuff going on. We were just talking about a little pre-show, but we are here. We're happy to be doing this interview. And as you mentioned, we were talking about it before we got recording. The last time you were on the show, y'all were literally backstage at an NWA event. A little less chaotic, a little less going on right now, but you've been super busy, y'all. I've been very impressed with seeing, y'all left the NWA not too long ago. We're gonna talk about that a little bit as well, but how's just things been in general? Just staying busy, both y'all working together and really doing well for yourselves right now.
Man, I mean, I think staying busy is the name of the game. I mean, it seems like we're even more busy now since kind of just parting ways with NWA. I mean, NWA was, great, fun, good people to work with. But just getting out here, man, and just hitting all of these different indies, man. I mean, we are booked every week, sometimes twice a week. So it's just been a lot of traveling, a lot of shows, a lot of bumps.
There's a lot that goes on in North Carolina. About easily three shows a month.
Oh, sure.
Sometimes more. And then we're not too far from South Carolina and we get booked there. And then, we'll have random ones that we'll travel to as well. But there's always a good 3 to 4 bookings just here in North Carolina, every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene's been doing great lately. Are you still currently the RWA champion as well, Fodder?
Yeah. I was a RWA heavyweight champion still, and then I just relinquished the XWW heavyweight title.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, as you mentioned, that scene has been really thriving. I've been watching a lot of your work on your YouTube channel, and which, by the way, for people who don't know, definitely go to the YouTube over there. We'll have all the links in the description. But from what I understand, we were talking a little beforehand, and I was confused about this myself because you're able to upload so many of these matches that I can't really find elsewhere that you've been working. You've actually been bringing your own crew to get the footage, and then that way you were able to upload it, and it's really high production value stuff you're uploading too, with great commentary. If you can kind of speak to that, because I think that's a really smart idea that more people should probably be taking advantage of if they're able to.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to pushing and promoting yourself as an athlete or a wrestler or whatever you're doing, first impressions are kind of what people remember you for. So if you're going to be presenting yourself as a professional wrestler, you want to look professional, right? So that comes from the top down, man. You need to have good video production. I mean, it needs, with the way cameras and audio and everything is today, I mean, it's very accessible to, kind of create the TV environment, for instance, right? And then just when somebody goes to your YouTube channel, I mean, the screens, like the YouTube stills or the screens that they have as the visual representation of what the match is, there needs to be cohesiveness and all of that. And I come from a marketing background for what my shoot job is. So I understand how to take what you're trying to present, make it look extremely professional, and then push it out to the masses so that when they see you, they take you seriously.
Also, one more follow-up for that before I know, Jammer, you got questions, but I don't want to forget to bring this up because we talked a little, we had like a little mini podcast before we even got rolling. So for people who are watching this, but please put over Brandon and Gerard on commentary as well, because those guys are great. I've done very, very little commentary in my life. I was fortunate to do some for CDW here in Atlanta, and Gerard and Brandon were the guys who were on commentary on that show. They made me feel very, very welcome. Like I felt like a fish out of water, but those guys were awesome. I love seeing them around the Atlanta area and really everywhere else they're working. So if you can kind of put them over as well, I'd like to hear your thoughts on them.
Yeah, I mean, they're two of the best commentators that I've ever heard. Obviously, when we were doing the district wrestling shows, they were the commentary team that was chosen to do those shows. And I would just listen to their commentary when I would watch the shows back. I was like, man, these guys are like really good. There's never any dead space. Because like me and you were talking about earlier, right? Sometimes when guys are commentating wrestling shows and they're live, actually sitting ringside commentating the matches, they actually get into watching the matches. And then the audio just kind of goes dead or silent for a while. But Gerard and Brandon, man, what they really do is they're really able to give you the story and they just give you all the ebbs and flows of the match, man, as it goes with no dead spots. So those guys are guys that I reach out to if I'm working a big match somewhere and I need to bring my camera crew with me to get the match, but they don't have a commentary team there to do commentary, then I will basically just get the match. We will edit the match. I'll send it to them with the notes. They send the commentary back on it. And I mean, it's just like they were there commentating the match live.
They're very professional. There is no reason in the world why they are like, should not be working for a major company. Like they are seriously that good. Like I remember when, we had just been together for a few months and I had went down and done a district show. And when I listened to it back, it actually stuck out to me. And I mean, I've been doing this forever. So for something to like really like stand out where I'm like, whoa, this is great. I think I remember saying to him, I was like, man, these commentators are like really good.
And that's what everybody says. Like, like if I work a guy and then I send him the footage with the commentary on it and they're the ones commentating on it, the first thing I get back from anybody is like, man, like these commentary guys are like excellent. So, I mean, big ups to them for sure.
You mentioned the editing, and I want to kind of talk more about that because you also mentioned like the thumbnails, but you got the graphic that introduces the match and then also the description. And I assume the tags that you have to put in there on YouTube, like getting traction on YouTube is hard. You never know how certain things are going to like hit the algorithm and everything. So how much of that is you? And then how much of that is, you mentioned your marketing background, and how much of that is you working with other people to put all this together to see like, okay, is this going to hit? Why isn't this hitting? But yeah, so how involved is really just the whole process when it comes to that?
Well, I mean, I think everything is one, obviously the companies that I work for, right? Because without them, there's no ring and there's no me and there's no us doing the matches, right? So that's first and foremost. But my cameraman, Daniel Coleman, he goes with me everywhere. I don't know why he does it, because it's just, I mean, it wears you out having to travel everywhere. But me and him are super tight. And I think just having the production team and putting everything together. And then once you get it up on YouTube, obviously like I have my own designer as well that does all of my match graphics too, because like, I think like just cohesiveness in the visuals is very, very important, right? So when people see, when they see a match graphic that's done in the style that it's done, typically they know this is this. Like we shoot all of our promos the same way, right? Same background, black and white. So when people see the promos in kind of like the black and white and all that, they're already identifying that with you. So like you're just kind of like branding yourself. in many ways. And then, you know, as far as like the YouTube goes, one of the things that I did early on, you know, was I would bring in like my own guys to work. So like a lot of guys I knew like through EC3 and things like that. And I really, like, when I first got into wrestling, I didn't know anything about like the indies or anything. So once I found out that like guys that were working on television could actually take indie bookings and like work me at the joint wherever, like in North Carolina, what I did was for about a year, I just invested in myself, brought in all of my own guys. And then I would have my camera crew film it, you know, and I would basically get the match with the guy with the name, and I would be able to put that on YouTube. And I would essentially, in a way, be able to get an audience from the audience that was already looking for them. So like if I work Moose and somebody's on YouTube and they're watching a Moose match, chances are if I have all my stuff tagged correctly and the descriptions and the hashtags and all the things, they're going to get my video as a recommended video on that sidebar, which is basically taking lots of people that would watch like a Moose going, well, I'm going to watch this Moose match. I mean, I never heard of this guy, but let's check it out. Right. And then all of a sudden your subscribers start to build. And not to mention too, you know, during that time period where I would bring my own guys in, I got the experience of working with the TV guy. So I was learning kind of on the fly, like learning pace and how to slow down and, you know, just how to do things the right way in the ring. And of course you're going to make mistakes as you go. But with me getting into wrestling when I was 33, basically having no experience at all, my whole philosophy behind that was I need to get really good really fast. And I think that was kind of the right way to go about it, to kind of fast track me to a level to where I could work, you know, really nothing but like guys who work on television.
I want to commend you. Apologies. I commend you on that, because it would be very easy. I think I don't say a lot of wrestlers, but nowadays stuff goes viral on social media and everything. It's like, okay, what can I do that goes viral? And they think like that's sort of the break that they need. Like actually doing the stuff that you're doing on YouTube is really a lot of effort. Like really just run a YouTube channel altogether, and then everything you're putting into it and the way you want to learn all of this different stuff. Like I just find that very commendable.
Thank you. And I think, right, it's like I'm playing the long game with wrestling. And what I mean by playing the long game is like, I'm not really looking for the highlight clips. I'm looking for the resume, right? So when guys come to my YouTube channel and they go like, man, this guy's worked everybody. Like he's worked, you know, Cardona and Too Cold Scorpio and Bully Ray and Heath and whoever, right? You know, I'm looking more for the experience in wrestling and a catalog of stuff that I can look back on. You know, stuff that I've done myself, stuff that we've done together collectively, and be happy with that. You know, because, you know, me getting into wrestling so late, obviously, like I had built a life for myself outside of wrestling. So I know that everybody that gets they don't have the financial ability to just say like, I'm going to bring this guy in, and I'm going to bring this guy in, and I'm going to bring this guy in. And I'm going to invest that money in myself and hope that I get it back later. But my whole mindset is if I want people to view me as a TV wrestler, then all I need to wrestle is TV wrestlers. And if all I wrestle is TV wrestlers, then eventually I'll be wrestling on TV. At some point, they're going to bring me up to TV because they're going to go, well, I mean, that's all he wrestles is TV guys, right? And I think once you get to the point of where you're saying like, well, I've invested all this money and now that's going to help me get to TV, then you start getting bookings where now you don't have to bring guys anymore. The promoters are just booking those guys for you because they know that that's probably all you work. And
perception's everything, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this business. So I mean, like one of our favorite things to do is just go on YouTube and just find the worst wrestling we can find. And, and then if you take that and compare it to like what his channel looks like, it's like you can find a lot of indie wrestling and like a lot of indie wrestler channels where it's just like everything is just a mess. And it's just, there's no audio or there's no commentary or the camera guy is falling asleep and it's going like this. It's a whole bunch of things, right? But then like this, it's like everything. So people could look at his channel and say, and just him and how he looks and just be like, this person must be really professional. This must be some kind of a big deal thing because theirs sticks out far beyond anybody else's.
I would imagine it also helps, and you can correct me on this or give more color on this, of not only like the in-ring stuff, but it's like, oh, maybe we need somebody to do this like editing or shoot this type of thing. It's like, oh, well, Fodder has some experience in putting that stuff together. And to use a very kind of high example on this of Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis, obviously a very great professional wrestler. Right now is the SmackDown GM, but he does excellent in that role. And it's like, okay, well, we know he's a good wrestler, but he has so much experience doing other things that he's also very good in this role. And I'd imagine it's kind of similar of like, good wrestler, looks good on television, but hey, maybe we need help putting production stuff together, and you can help out there as well.
Well, you want to, and I know he would agree with this, like you want to kind of make yourself like a multifaceted person, right? To where it's like, I'm not just a talent on a show that is just coming in to do my match and get paid. If you can find other ways to be an asset to the promoter or to the company or whatever, you can secure yourself in other areas. Like before Ring of Honor was bought, I was starting to agent matches because I was wanting to get in to learn more about doing the backside, producing backstage promos, agenting matches and stuff like that. So you can kind of be like a jack of all trades, right? So like if you got hurt for some reason, then it's like, well, you can still work because you can still do this and this.
Yeah. And a lot of the indie promotions that I do stuff with, I do help them with a lot of stuff, right? Because, if I'm the champion at RWA, there's a guy, Julian, he runs that promotion. I came to him once and I told him, I said, I can make videos, advertisement videos for your shows. I'll do the voiceover, I'll put the clips together, and I'll make an advertisement video for more people to your show. And I've been doing that for him for quite a while, right? But it just adds more value to you instead of just being the guy who's like, yeah, man, like I'm just here to like work this match today, between the hours of like 4 to 6, and like just give me my envelope and I'm out of here. Like hit me up next month if you need me, right? You want to be the guy who can do lots of things. Like, can I do graphics? Can I help with audio? Let me take the stuff that's going on at your promotion and let my cameraman come here and film it. And then I'm going to have my commentary team put their commentary on it. And then I'm going to put it on YouTube and it's going to get 10,000 views. Right. So the promoter can look at that and go like, well, I mean, like, this guy's doing this talent is doing more for me than any other talent on the roster.
Yeah. Cause we see there's a lot of talent that are on the complete opposite side, right? Where like the promoter, we've seen it where like a promoter literally has to beg somebody like, please give me a promo for the show. I've booked you on this show coming up. I would love to have a promo. You know what I mean? And it's like 2 days before the show. And there's still like, if it's a group, you know what I mean? Like a little group Facebook Messenger thing. It's like, hey, I need promos. And it's like, man, if you're fortunate enough to be booked on a show and paid by this person, I mean, the least you can do is take 1 minute of your life and help promote the thing and yourself. I mean, you're promoting yourself,
Yeah.
Like they're literally asking you like, please let me put this on the internet for you because you're talking about you and your face will get out there. And man, nobody wants to do it.
Well, then one promoter told me, he said, I said, do you think the promos actually help you sell tickets? And he said, no, they don't help me sell tickets at all. He said, the promos help you get over as a character so you can do good at the gimmick table. And I had never thought about it like that. But once he broke it down to me like that, I was like, oh, you're right. If you do good promos, then people come to the table and they go, I want the 8x10. I want to get the combo or whatever the case is.
Y'all have been doing really good vignettes. Like, have you been filming those yourselves? Like the stuff you've been doing for like AML with like your feud throughout like the Brian Hawks feud and all that stuff? Because I think those are really good. And I wanted to get your perspective on kind of like your mic work and your character work recently and stuff too. Because you haven't been wrestling for like a very long amount of time, but I feel like you've like progressed a lot in just like the short amount of time that I've known you. And I can tell that even in just like the mic work.
Oh, thanks a lot. A lot of that is her. She's like, promo queen, right? So I learned a lot about promos and how to talk properly from her. And, shout out to AML, man. I mean, I've done just so much good business with those guys. They run such good shows. They're so professional. Tracy and Brian, I mean, they do an absolutely fantastic job, and they run WrestleCade as well, man. So, I mean, those guys are putting in work all year long. They're crowds and they're putting on great shows, man. So definitely big ups to them, and big ups to them for, allowing us and wanting us to be a part of what they do.
He basically has a general idea, because most of them are his wrestling matches, right? And I'm managing him. Right. So he has like a general idea, but sometimes if he doesn't, I can, like, we feed off of each other, right? So maybe he's got like half a promo figured out, and I'm like, oh, we could just blah, blah, blah this and say this, whatever. And that's like, and then, we try to do it as quick as possible. And then he edits them. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really easy kind of feed off of each other thing, where it's like just bounce an idea. And it's usually figured out pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing I've learned about promos is to just slow down. There's no need to say 500 sentences in 60 seconds. Just get right to the point, but don't say it really fast. You really got to put a lot of emphasis on the stuff that you want to get across, and just not talk at 100 miles an hour, because people just tune you out, right? Or like the promos that are just way too long and they just go like, I don't have 2 minutes, man. Like, I got to keep scrolling on my Instagram here.
Well, my philosophy is you should do it in 1 minute or less, because I know just from a lot of time and experience in the business that if you are trying to get a job somewhere, like back in the day, you send like a VHS tape or like a DVD or something, right, with your 8x10. And I know, because I've been told by a million people who work in offices, you have 10 seconds to catch somebody's attention. And they will easily put something in, judge it in 10 seconds, yay or nay, and then it's just on to the next thing. And it's the same with promos, because just like how we, love to watch bad indie wrestling, there's a lot of, promos that go along with those things. And I mean, man, people just ramble on and on and on. And it's like, man, you got to take it home. Like, people are tuning out at this point, or they're just talking about a whole bunch of things that have nothing to do with the show that they're on or whatever. And it's too long and it's too much, and people will tune out. And a lot of people don't take time. They don't slow down. They don't put emphasis on certain words. It's just like blah 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 blah. And it's just like, whoa, man, I can't even absorb what you're saying. But less is more. Just like many ways in life and in wrestling, in matches, less is more. Take a little bit and draw it out. It's exactly the same with promos.
It's essentially like the elevator pitch. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but the elevator pitch, you get in, you've got 30 seconds to sell whatever you're trying to sell. And that's how I view, especially independent promotions. Obviously television, you're telling longer stories, you have more time, understandable there. You kind of do longer promos, but for like an indie match, tell me who you're wrestling, what kind of the quick story is, why you want to beat this person. And then sell me in a minute. And then either I'm in or I'm out. So I feel like that's very good advice. Because again, the elevator pitch, you've got a minute to sell whatever product you're selling, in this case, a wrestling match. And if you can't do it in that, well, that person's going to walk out of the elevator and never speak to you again.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
And I was going to ask about the time length too, because about a minute or less is what I've been noticing on your recent like uploads that I've been seeing. It's like a minute or less. Both of y'all usually in the shot together. Both of y'all getting a few lines in, explaining exactly what's going on. I mean, even like the Brian Hawks feud, like even though I can't watch all this stuff on like, you know, on AML, you know, TV or whatever you would call it, I can follow along with the story just by following the social media, by following your YouTube and stuff. And like, I kind of know what's going on. Then when I see you having these big matches against these big names, and I know it's because Hawks keeps bringing them in on you, like because he's trying to get revenge and he keeps bringing these big name after big name. I have an idea about what's going on. And I think you guys do a good job of that. Speaking of that, I want to go back just a little bit and then we'll catch up a little bit more towards like the last like couple months, but like, about I guess this was around the beginning of the year, I guess the end of last year. You had some NWA World Heavyweight title matches against EC3. One of them I saw on your YouTube channel when y'all wrestled for AML. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought you won the title, man. I thought you had done it. Angelina,
you did.
Yeah.
Technically, I did. Yeah,
he did, and then. But what was it like, you know, getting an opportunity to wrestle for that championship? I want to get your overall thoughts on NWA, you know, kind of your exit there too, if you'd like to go into that. But I know you have a lot of history with EC3 and like your short amount of time in the wrestling business. Like right away, I saw you as a part of like the CYN and that kind of stuff. So I guess maybe a little bit about like your relationship with EC3, getting to wrestle for that championship, and just like the NWA experience as a whole, kind of being there and then also exiting.
So me and EC3 met like before I ever started doing any wrestling. You know, I mean, he was a guy who I reached out to with one of my businesses, and, you know, I was having him promote, you know, different supplements and things like that. And then I kind of got into doing the wrestling, and he had hit me up and he was like, "Hey man, like, are you still doing like the wrestling training?" And then we did the garage fight video deal that when he first got released from WWE. And, you know, I think he just kind of took me under his wing and was like, if you keep doing this, you're going to go somewhere, right? He's like, he's one of those guys who's like, man, I believe in you. You're going to do it, right? And, you know, all throughout everything that we did, like in the Control Your Narrative, you know, a lot of the Control Your Narrative stuff, like all the behind the scenes stuff, like stuff with the tickets and the websites and, you know, writing like descriptions for all the stuff. You know, I handled pretty much all of that stuff. And same thing like the YouTube and all that kind of jazz. And then I
didn't know that, by the way. I didn't know that you were behind all of that. So
I mean, I don't like throw it out there or anything. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, but that was pretty much like my gig, right? It's like, yo, I'm gonna do all this stuff and then, you know, also be a part of the wrestling too. So we did. The night before, we worked the match on the Super Show. It was me, EC3, and Angelina against Matt Cardona, DeLander, and Brad Attitude. And there, I turned on EC3 to kind of set up our title match. The next day, we do that. Brian Hawks, of course, he screwed me out of keeping the belt. I should have kept the belt. And then the following week, I worked EC3 in a street fight at the NWA Exodus Pro promotion that he's kind of got going now. So
and then we went to Blizzard Brawl the next day in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and then we went to Blizzard Brawl the next day. So I mean, that was a very hectic 2 weeks. You know, I think with wrestling, it's one of those things too where wrestling is always moving so fast. And you just never really have a chance to sit down and think about what you've done, because it's like WrestleK today, and then like, hey, doing the match today for the world title, and then see you in 4 days, and we're doing another match for the world title, and then the next day Blizzard Brawl, right? So you never really get a chance to kind of like sit with what you've done.
It never happens.
You just never think about it, man. But it's definitely cool to wrestle for the NWA World Title twice in a week against EC3, the guy who, you know, kind of broke me into the wrestling business and helped get me a lot of opportunity. And then, you know, obviously he played a major role in him, and Ricky Morton played a big role in getting me to NWA. And I think like our time there was totally fine. I mean, they liked me. I like working there. I like everybody in the locker room. I thought the matches that we were doing were very good. I mean, just like 3 or 4 days ago, I mean, they posted the match with me and Tom Latimer, which was the kendo stick match. They just posted that on their YouTube. And I think we just got to a point with NWA, which was around like August last year. I mean, me and her were doing our thing. I mean, we were doing our shots with NWA, but we were still doing, a ton on the indies. And I think that they just wanted to go one direction and we wanted to go another direction. And I think when you have two parties that just want to go in different directions, there's nothing wrong with just taking a break and saying, like, if you want to go that way, that's cool. No hard feelings. We're going to go this way. And, I think with the last year that me and her have had in terms of doing shows and in terms of the level of talent that I have worked with over the last year, I mean, I don't think the break was a bad idea. I'm totally okay. If NWA wanted to have us back, I mean, I'd be totally okay with that. There
was no drama and animosity and heat or anything there. It was just, it literally was like just separate ideas and, totally being okay with going separate ways. We've never badmouthed the company or anything. And we've, spoken to Billy since and seen a lot of people there since, and it's totally fine. But, you just really know as a performer what you want. But yeah, we've just been doing so much. I mean, we're
I may be even more busy
seems like
now that we're gone from there, and like I say, I mean, just the quality of guys too that I've worked with over the last year, man, it's just been, I mean, it's been a lot of fun, man, and there's been a lot of guys that I've worked.
I mean, at NWA, he got his first pay-per-view match, with Latimer. Me and Camille, we both consider the no DQ match that we had on that pay-per-view as one of our top 3 favorite matches for both of us. And then we met, and so it was all I got to work with Velvet again. It was great. It was good. It was all good times.
Your match with Camille was awesome, by the way. I'm glad that you brought that up. That match was so good. I talked about that for weeks. I do a weekender podcast on Fightful Select every weekend, covering the indies and covering NWA and some other shows, and I talked about that match for weeks. So yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. People need to go check that out if they haven't seen it for whatever reason.
Man, it was so fun. It was so fun and easy. And, Camille and I have been cool forever. And it's just, believe it or not, a no DQ match requires just very little thought. I mean, most of the match we did not have planned. We had specific things we knew needed to happen. But that was really we had only done one tag match against each other on an indie show prior to actually having that match. So we just had really good chemistry too. And I know that she had mentioned that she was really critical of herself in her matches. And when she had watched that later, when we could actually see it, she said she couldn't find one thing that she didn't like about it.
That's awesome.
It was very fun. It was very, very fun.
Like I said, it was a great match. And I know that, part of y'all leaving NWA was, to have your options open. So what kind of, companies, promotions, do you have anything you want to throw out there as far as some places you would like to work? Obviously, Angelina, you have a long history in TNA. We'd like to see you. As a fan, I'd like to see you there more often. I know you were there about a year or so ago, popped in.
Yeah, it was September 9th, Impact 1000. Velvet and I just posted about it because I'm like, gosh, I just cannot believe it's been a year already. It's totally insane.
Flies, man.
Yeah,
it is.
Going somewhere to work. I think MLW or TNA are probably what I would consider to be the best fits for us. Obviously TNA is doing a great job. They're killing it. I love what MLW is doing. I think MLW's got, great production. They got a great roster. They tell, good stories, man. And they put on good shows too. So like if we were going to go anywhere or I had a choice to go anywhere, MLW or TNA would be, probably the options for us. And I think they just work the best too in terms of our outside life when it comes to travel and just all the things that we have going on outside of wrestling to be able to work for a company. And that's one of the reasons why like NWA was really good for us, because we would have our dates for NWA and we were able to kind of plan around everything and kind of have everything situated at home to still be able to go do all of that stuff.
Because it's just a little more work when the mom works too. Because, normally the men go on the road and the wife stays at home and does everything with the kids until they get back. But I'm like, hi, I go on the road too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Angelina, I did want to ask about your match with Athena, because that came a little out of nowhere. I know you had the history with ROH before Tony ended up buying it, but then when I saw that graph, I was like, whoa, Angelina is working ROH. So how did that all come together?
I mean, I don't cheer us as good. I mean, I didn't know going to the building that we were going to be having that match. This was almost right after we had left NWA. I think it was the week after we filmed the Impact 1000. So it was just it was just 2 very big weekends in a row. And we had gone up to Collision Ring of Honor. And when because we were going to do the Psycho Love thing, it did not end up panning out that way. Lots of things were changed during the day. And we were doing our pictures in front of like the AEW logo with the photographer. And he was posing doing his pictures, and Athena came down the hall. This was like halfway through the day or like just a little bit before Collision was starting. So we didn't even know what we were doing. And then she was just like, and I was like, and I was like, oh, okay. Then I'm like, wait. She's also, I'm the worst baby. I can't wrestle here for the first time and be a baby face. That's going to be but then we just ended up we were second on the show, and that was the first time we've worked each other, and I thought it was easy and I thought it worked out fine. And I pulled a Rick Rude with the way that everything was filmed and aired, so I off that too. It's just funny. I did not find out until that day, mid-afternoon, that I was going to be wrestling her. But I mean, it was easy and fun. It was a really wild, hectic day for sure.
Oh, that is kind of fascinating. Like we've heard a lot of stories about talent just kind of coming in. They don't know what they're going to do. I was kind of under more of assumption of like, oh, well, it's the ROH Women's Champion. She has somewhat of an idea of what she's going to do and who she's going to wrestle. It is very funny that you guys are just like, you and me? Okay, yeah, that's what we're rolling with then.
Yeah. And as far as like the not being a good baby face thing, I just want to throw this out there too. You've reached a level, Angelina. You have enough tenure and enough clout in this industry to where like people are just going to be happy that you're there. You know what I mean? So like if you're afraid that hey, I don't like being a baby face, you're going to get that pop because you're there. So just want to throw that out there.
So here's the thing. It's not the fan reaction. It's just me as a performer, right? So I'm not like this horrible, terrible person, but like really good natural baby faces would be like a Taylor Wilde or a Kelly, right? They're just bubbly. It just comes out so easily. You look at them and you can't think they could be anything like more like other than a baby face, right? But for me, I don't know, man. Like for some reason, like just being this heel and the beautiful people and what we did and now what I'm doing now, that just oozes out of me so much easier. And, believability is massive in success in wrestling. And if I ever have to be a baby face, I just pretend I'm Hulk Hogan in my head. And I'm just like arms and legs. And I'm just so hokey and ridiculous because that's the only way I can like project it out of myself.
I ever catch you during a match doing like the 3 punches, big boot and a leg drop, she got too deep into the Hogan in her own mind.
Well, I did just work Amina Belmont at Chicago Style Wrestling last Friday. And I did have a moment with her where she was in the corner and I went, you.
I love it.
Couldn't help it.
Fodder, I have to ask about this match. We've brought it up a couple times, and I was checking it out on YouTube, and it's doing really great on YouTube. But it's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, and I think one of the most underrated wrestlers ever. Too Cold Scorpio. you got to tell me about just the experience of working Too Cold Scorpio.
And you beat him.
I mean, so I've always wanted to wrestle Too Cold Scorpio. I've always been a big Too Cold Scorpio fan, even since I was, yay high, man. I mean, I had the Flash Funk, bone crunching action, Jack's Pacific action figure. I mean, all the things, right? And I mean, it just came about. We were just kind of batting around some ideas in regards to that storyline. And we knew who the last guy was going to be. And we were trying to figure out, who, since the last guy is Bully Ray, who we need to bring in more ECW guys, right? So I ended up working Scorpio and Dreamer and Rhino, all leading up to Bully Ray. Scorpio, we didn't even know if that match was going to happen, because the TMZ stuff and all that, stuff literally came out that Monday, and we were supposed to work that Sunday. So a lot of it was just kind of seeing what happens type thing. And, he was there, and, Scorpio is, he is a very interesting, first of all, he's very chill. But he has a very interesting way of putting matches together. And just the way he does things, there's no way that you can't learn from him. Obviously, somebody like me going into it, with the experience that I have, I'm thinking in my head, right? This match has got to be perfect. There can be nothing wrong with this match, because, it's going to be filmed, it's going to go on YouTube. And I'm very critical of my stuff. Sometimes I notice stuff, and she could tell you this, I can notice just the smallest thing, and I just go the match is just fucked, man. I don't even know how anybody could watch this right now. And that's how
overly critical.
Yeah, that's how critical I am of itself. And maybe it's just a OCD Virgo thing or whatever. But working him, it was obviously a dream come true. The forearms are there. They're there. As far as the Japanese style forearms, I've never done a forearm exchange in a match ever until I worked Scorpio. And
called it on the fly.
And he just calls all that stuff on the fly. Obviously we all know this is all entertainment, and I guess it's gosh damn, you don't want to expose the business like crazy, right? But he would just call stuff on the fly, and it's just man, I would ask him afterwards. I remember I asked him about the forearm spot afterwards. And I said, why'd you do that right there? And he said, man, I just felt like the people needed some action. And I was like, okay, well, this is why you've been doing it for 40 years. And I've been doing it for 4 years.
Because it was early in the match.
Because it was very early in the match. We had some stuff kind of planned. And then there was a point where I drove him to the corner, and, I was kind of waiting for him to do what we had called for the next thing. And then he was just forearm me, okay. And I don't throw forearms either. I throw punches. So I was doing two things that I never do in a match, which is one, throwing a forearm, and then just doing the forearm exchange back and forth. But man, working him was totally awesome, dude. And I'm so glad I did it. And I had told her, probably since we met, right? Man, I need to work Too Cold Scorpio, because if I don't do it, I may never get to do it, because he obviously he's older, so
he has a little wrestling Rolodex in his brain, and we'll just be sitting in the kitchen eating breakfast one morning, and he'll just be I want to work so-and-so. And I'll just be oh, okay. That's where'd that come from? It happens a lot. I feel Scorpio was one of those too. It was he had wrestled somebody at a big name at a big show, and then that was done, and then it was just Tuesday morning, and then in the kitchen he was just I want to work this person, and I'm where'd that come from? But there's this little list in his head of who he wants to work, and Scorpio was definitely one of those.
Definitely one of those, man. So big shout outs to him. It was certainly an honor to work Too Cold Scorpio.
Now, I don't know if these other names are in your Rolodex, but you did go through kind of like the ECW gauntlet, like you just mentioned a moment ago, including a match with Rhino, which I very much enjoyed. Rhino's a guy who binds the indies still to this day. Still see him like all over the place, having matches with everybody.
He'll drive everywhere too.
Yeah, does he still live in like a boat? I don't know.
He lives in Detroit.
In Detroit,
still.
I think he has like the boat yard. He's like an owner of a boat yard or something.
Yeah, the last I heard, this is years ago, he was living out of like a docked boat somewhere. Yeah, like a houseboat or something. It sounded badass. I was like, this guy's living a super interesting life, and he looks almost the same as he did back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, which is just insane. But also, you know, that all led, like you said, to like the big match between yourself and Bully Ray, which was turned into an ECW street fight, which, you know, based on what Angelina just said, I don't know how much preparation went into the match itself before it's just started winding up happening out there. But part of me was like, hey, might be good for Psycho Love and for Fodder here, though, because you're known to use the Psycho stick, you're known to use the numbers game and stuff like that. So I felt like this was kind of in your wheelhouse to be in this street fight against Bully Ray. I thought the match came off really great. And at the end of the day, he did beat you, chokeslam through a table. What are you going to do? But I mean, I think that you guys did a really great job over it was a real legitimate long-term story that had been playing out between you, Brian Hawks, and bringing all these people in, and you finally got your comeuppance from Bully Ray. I thought it was a good story.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, man. And, you know, I mean, you know, again, like credit to the guys over at AML, man, you know, for, you know, allowing us to work there and having us be a part of, you know, it's just great to tell those stories. And man, I mean, that crowd, I mean, there was probably 1,500 people there. I mean, that crowd was just totally just off the charts, man. I mean, one of the best crowds I've ever performed in front of. And, you know, just, I mean, like, as far as like, you know, calling stuff, I mean, we didn't really call stuff that was happening in the match. It was all about the moments in the match, you know, and like the moments in the match was like, you know, I'm beating him down, and then I'm doing the leg drop, and I go to hit the ropes to do the Hogan leg drop, and like Brian's in the way, and I bump into him, and I'm just like, oh, like you did that on purpose, and then pushing him down and getting the middle fingers, and then, you know, he's running the big comeback on me, and she tries to come in and do the stick, and they have their little spot, and then, you know, the big moment of the match is, you know, when I hit Bubba with the cutter and go for the pin. And Brian goes 1, 2, and he just stops. And you can just hear the whole crowd just come up because everybody knew what was getting ready to happen. And when he gave me the finger, now we can do Dudley Boy's greatest hits, right? And everybody goes home happy. So it's like.
Did you watch it, Steven?
I did. Yeah. I really enjoyed the match. I love how he got involved and did like Devon spots out there with Bully. That was really cool.
With the ref and everything. Yeah. I mean, It was definitely cool. And I always say this about that match, for the people that have asked me about it, is it was a loss in the ring, but it was a win for my career.
Well, that, and like, if you watch, I mean, there wasn't, you know, the tackle drop down Canadian destroyer. There wasn't, you know, 10 shooting star presses or whatever. It was literally a match of entertainment, you know, and that match, and I'm not just saying that, probably got the biggest reaction match long on the entire show, because a lot of those fans, they'll come to every show. So they understood the story between him, Brian Hawks, and all the ECW people that he was going through, and just the reactions of when he shoved Brian and gave him the double birds. And then, you know, like Brian did the 1-2 and did it back. Like it went crazy. And it's like, man, you don't have to do a Tiger Driver 91 and break your neck. Like, I mean, these are just like, you know, these are just the moments, and it's acting, it's performing. And that is, I mean, that match, I think everybody should watch, because that just shows exactly why you don't have to do 900 things in a match. And if you can just tell a story and entertain, you can get a massive response from the fans.
I think, I mean, you're totally right about that, because, you know, like Fodder, like in both with both y'all, but really with Fodder, like with the in-ring and like on the way to this match over time with the story that culminated with Bully Ray, it was a lot of matches where like you work like a slow, methodical pace, and the crowd just hates you. because like that's the point. Like you're getting them like to despise you month after month, show after show. You're the guy who goes in there, puts people in headlocks, hits people with cutters, and at the end of the day, you're going to kick someone in the dick and pin them, or you're going to hit them with a psycho stick, or Angelina's getting involved. And at the end of the day, y'all are the ones celebrating together. The fans are pissed off, and they want to see you eventually get your comeuppance, which is what Bully Ray did. So, I mean, I feel like, and especially when you can work in front of these similar audiences consistently, like the AML fan base, and then for it all to go crescendo in this Bully Ray match, like you're talking about, that place was packed out. That was an awesome visual. That was loud. So it's just mission accomplished all the way around. I think you're totally right about that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all do next there too, because I don't know where you go from the Bully Ray thing, but you're still the most hated, team there in the company. So like obviously this, I like you said, Fodder, I think this was a giant win for your career overall.
Sure, and you know what, man, I had a conversation with a guy who was telling me about another talent, right? And he was just like, yeah, man, like, I just don't like working with him, man, because he just whines about losing all the time. And I said, I remember telling him, I said, well, he doesn't have the right mindset. It's not about winning and losing. It's about getting over, man. And if you can get over as like, man, if I'm a heel and I can get over, it doesn't matter if I win or lose, right? Because you're over, right? You're good. If they know you're going to get booed right when you walk through the curtain, that's it, because you're getting reaction. It doesn't matter if you nobody even remembers if you lose. So I mean, it's good to get wins, but the wins matter when you're telling a story. Well, in my opinion.
And that's why it's so important to do so, because that's how you draw emotion out of people, whether they love you or whether they hate you. Having some kind of a character or a personality, it doesn't matter if you lose, they probably wouldn't even remember. They would probably just remember like, oh, he yelled this thing at me, or like he did this thing to his opponent, or, I hate him because of that. Like, they don't care if you lose 900. Like, people think I just have to win to be over. And if that is your mindset, you probably have no character or no personality. And in turn, then you need to get one, because then you can get over with that. And you don't have to like kill yourself and do 900 things and then be like, well, man, like, the crowd just like sat on their hands. And it's like, well, why would they have cheered you? Why would they have hated you? They don't, you know what I mean? Like, you did a lot of cool things, but you're a heel. So, I mean, like, they can't really like boo you because you did cool stuff. So they kind of want to cheer that, but then they're supposed to cheer the baby face. So it just causes confusion, if that makes sense. So it's like, if you have a really cut and dry, clear character, you can get yourself over that way. Wrestling is totally secondary.
When I noticed, like, I believe it was because I watched a lot of the matches on YouTube, kind of like one after another, and I think it was the Bully Ray match. I'm almost positive, and you may do this more often than I just noticed it in the Bully Ray match. Fodder, I thought this was very smart. Like Angelina is saying, this doesn't even have to do with the match itself. Before your match even started, you threatened to hit a little kid in the crowd with your stick. Like, you know what I mean? So like right away, you're establishing to anybody who might not be familiar with you, you're willing to threaten a child with your psycho stick before the match even starts. And I think that's pretty psycho.
Listen, some people bring some unruly children to shows.
Very much so. Very much so.
They deserve
very
it.
unruly children that show up to shows, man. They will tell you what's on their mind. Yeah, look, man.
But
like,
kids are going to scream and get involved big time. Like, they will just scream the whole show because they just think everything is awesome. So it's like, go do something with them. Then they'll make the noise.
They'll give you noise. They'll get you reaction, and reaction spreads amongst people that are there, right? Like, a lot of people don't want to make noise because they don't want to be like the one person that like yells something and then like everybody's like looking over at them, But if you can kind of slowly get people involved, it just migrates around the building, and then everybody starts feeling comfortable that they can make noise. So, having a character is great. When I was first getting trained, a very well-known wrestling legend told me, he said, if they're gonna give your reaction or they're going to pop off a shoulder tackle. He goes, why are you going to do anything off the top rope? And I was like, I mean, I've never thought about it like that, but at least from my experience, I've just learned that I can get great reaction and do 50% less stuff if I am my character. And I can just do my character spots. You know, when we were at TV, Homicide was an agent on the match, on one of the matches. And I remember he came up to me and he said, we know you can wrestle, but we don't care about the wrestling, man. All we want you to do is get your character over. So like, don't go in there and like try to do a bunch of spots or like do this or do that. And then I worked with Dr. Tom, and Dr. Tom helped me develop like a bunch of character spots. And then when we were doing, you know, most TV matches are like 6 minutes, right? 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And what I realized, right, is like once I would take over in the heat, by the time I did 1 or 2 of my character spots, time to wrap it up. And I was like, oh, I didn't really do anything. And they were like, yeah, that's the whole point, dude. Like, do your character spots and get your character over, and don't worry about doing a bunch of useless moves.
Well, when we had first got together, he was showing me the matches that he had done up to that point. And so my whole thing is, and if I do like seminars or, you know, go to a training school to help out or whatever, I like to pose a lot of questions. I don't like to tell people anything to do. I like to ask questions and see what their answers are, what they're thinking and where their head is at, right? And with him, I was like, okay, you can do matches. He did that really good match with Moose.
Yep.
But I'm like, but your name is Psycho Boy. So what about you in the ring when you wrestle is a Psycho Boy? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people will be like, I'm this name. I got this cool nickname for myself and I like it. But then they just get in the ring and they just wrestle like any other person with no personality. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're named this thing, why are you this thing? When Velvet and I were doing the Beautiful People, we were the mean girls, right? So we were paper bagging people because they were ugly and spraying people in the eyes with hairspray and cutting their hair because it went with the characters, right? So it was like, what can you do? So I watch his stuff and be like, you can maybe take this part and add this to it, where you, when you're doing something, you're like, nah, you're sticking your tongue out and you're being crazy. Or like, you know, if somebody gives you a shoulder tackle, like get right up and get in his face because you're crazy and you don't care. You know what I mean? Like you have to still show why you are your character while you wrestle. Otherwise people will tune out. They'll be like, well, this person is, you know, supposed to be like a zombie, but then you get in the ring and you wrestle like Will Ospreay. It's like, what zombie moves like Will Ospreay? Like it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, that's a big part of getting over as a whole. And just like, you know, like Homicide said to him, it was like a little, you know, you can, it's like not, it's important, but it's like secondary because it's just known in television wrestling, having a look, having a character and being able to portray that in the ring is of extreme importance.
Can I just echo that getting the kids involved is the easiest way to either get a babyface reaction or get a heel reaction? Because if you threaten kids, yes, the kids are immediately not going to dislike you. And then the parents aren't going to dislike you, whether it's their parents or parents around the building. Like, wait, why are you threatening kids? And then if you were the babyface beating that person up, you are immediately the most beloved person in the world. And if you can get the kids involved in the match, if it's like cleared or something where the kid can hit you as the heel, then that becomes the biggest reaction. Yeah, if there are kids in the front row, this is a tip for any independent wrestler out there, because I've been to a lot of independent shows. If there are kids in the front row and you can somehow get them involved one way or another, whether you're a babyface or a heel, try to do it, because that'll be the memory for those kids when they walk out of that building as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, we did a show when you wrestled Don Furio. He wrestled this guy, Don Furio. And so at intermission, there was this little blonde girl who had come up to our table, and she was just the epitome of sass. And she had a mouth like I have not seen on a small child before. And it was not in favor of us. And so she was front row with her family, and he wrestled this Don Furio guy, and he had got color, and he was like bleeding and stuff, and this girl was in tears, and I was like, oh, are you crying? You know, and it's just like, they don't like it, but they like it, but they don't. But it's like, you know, she was so into it. So we just like kind of stood there and taunted her. Like, I think her parents like understood, but it's like, you have to seize the opportunity.
Oh, totally. Because she was a very big fan of the guy that I was working, and we had turned it into like some kind of like street fight deal. It's what the promoter wanted. And at some point I was putting some heat on him, and I just, when he got color, I just trotted him around the ring on the outside, and I'd, you know, hook him and give him one of these. And we had made it around, and man, dude, I mean, he had just crazy color. I was like, dude, I mean, like, you're like Terry Funked yourself out here, man, like with the deal. And I remember I threw him in the ring, and I had like some of his blood on my hands. And I remember just going to her, just going, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like standing beside him, taunting her. She was screaming.
You guys are dicks. That's the biggest thing I've ever heard.
She was screaming for him the whole. He hands everybody these flags. Everybody gets flags to like, and then so she was banana pants in that match until he got color, and we went over to her, and she was just like,
just slumped in the seat, not happy,
like just so upset.
And he ended up going over, and you know, I mean, it was a really good match. I got that match is on my YouTube, man. It was a really really fun match that the crowd was really into.
Except for you guys being jerks, clearly, to this kid.
Totally terrible. Yeah.
Oh man. Last one I've got for you. As we start kind of wrapping up, we appreciate all your time. We went for about an hour, so very much appreciate it.
Oh, good, man.
You got George South coming up in like not this weekend, but the next weekend, I believe.
Yeah.
What's that like, knowing you're going to be wrestling George South? That's a dude who's been around for a very long time.
I've worked George before. I worked George. If you go on my YouTube, there is a tag match. I was actually supposed to work Redbeard at this show, and he could not come because he ended up going back to WWE. So me and Jason Kincaid, who was there, tagged against George South and Damian Sandow in probably one of the most ridiculous matches ever done. George is no doubt a legend. Worked everywhere. I mean, worked with everybody. I mean, probably, you know, everybody's, you know, put George over as, you know, one of the best, and the fact that he's still doing it shows that he's one of the best. So
watching George in the ring is a real treat.
Yeah, it will. I'll say it'll be a interesting match. Well, I'm actually working twice that day, so they're actually doing a double header. So they're doing a show from 3 to 5, and then another show from 7 to 9. So I'll be on both of those shows. The first show I'm working Dave Dawson and Billy Brash in a 3-way, and then the second show I'm working George South.
Okay, I was confused about that because I'd seen your promo, the vignette that y'all did on Dave Dawson and Billy Brash, and I thought that was the same show. So it's 2 shows on the same day. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I am banned from ringside, but you never know what I may have.
And then the week after that, we're in Wisconsin for I think it's like one fall entertainment. They're doing like a big charity show, breast cancer charity show. So we'll be out there, and I mean, RWA on the 13th of October, and AML at the end, and then man, I mean,
we're booked up until
I mean all the way
till the end of the year.
Yeah, so I mean lots of dates coming up for sure.
Awesome. I mean, definitely need that link for the breast cancer like awareness show that you guys are doing. I'll definitely send some donations that way, and we'll try to get some other people to donate as well. Nice, and absolutely. And that promo I'm talking about on Dave Dawson and Billy Brash is a good example of what we were talking about earlier. It's like a minute long. Angelina just at the end is like, "What, are you afraid of a girl?" And you do the psycho laugh at the end, and it just and that's when I was like, good deal.
You know, a lot of my thought process with that is that just like when I was in developmental, I mean, we would literally have days where we would go and like say Monday would be promo day, and you used to do promos for 4 hours. You know what I mean? And you learn how to do it like you're on WWE TV. And like, so you got to know how to do heel and you got to know how to do babyface. And it's like, you have to get to the point and you have to do it quickly, but not sound like you're rushing. And then you've got somebody behind the camera who's like counting you down, you know, like, and you've only got, but you can't act like you know that you're being counted down and like rush to get to the end. So I'm just like I said, we've just watched a lot of promos, and I've just known promos and matches, when you're presenting yourself, is the same way. You have to capture attention in the first 10 seconds or people will just tune out. And it's like Bubba always had this saying, and it's quite useful and makes a lot of sense. Get on, get in, get off, get out. Just get it done. Get done what you need to do and just keep it moving. And I feel like that's the same thing. It's like, get your character over, make the points that you need to make. Because, you know, Russo used to tell us that all the time. Like, we used to get Velvet Night because, you know, we did a lot of in-rings, we did a lot of backstage, we did a lot of promo stuff. And they would try to write stuff out for us, but Vince was very cool. He's like, listen, I trust you guys. I know you can do these things. I know you can talk. So hit the point and just make sure you say the pay-per-view, the day and the what time it is. And then I trust you. So it's like, you know, you don't always have to like say the date, or you don't always have to say like it's at this elementary school, because that doesn't sound like too big of a deal, right? That's going to be on the poster anyway. If they're watching your promo and they want to check out the show, they're going to see that. So you don't have to be like the date, the time, the promotion, the venue every single time. You can just talk about your opponent and maybe just say the promotion. Or just say the date and it's their date with Destiny and this is why. You know what I mean? And it's just get it done in a minute. And I think people can be like, oh, I get it. That's actually great and exciting. And I understood the point and now I'm interested. Whereas if you're going on for 3 minutes, people are like, oh my gosh, I can't. I don't even want to see this match anymore. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to just get it done and get out.
Last question that we ask everybody, and I don't think we got to ask you guys last time because you were in the locker room, but the coolest thing you guys have, this is in your house, not so much your room, but the coolest thing in your house / room.
Yeah, if you have something you can, like, if you can show us, even better.
Yeah.
If it's like something
I'll show you something I'll show you something. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I'll show you something that we got.
Oh, Angelina looks like, what are you about to grab?
Oh, yeah.
I'll show you something.
We kind of like sometimes too, because you know how like you can live in a town or a city like for years and years and years, and there's a million businesses you've never been to, never even knew they were down this road or whatever. So we had just gotten into town like 2 days ago just to get some chicken at like this Peruvian place. And where we parked, we were facing a furniture and antique shop. And I'm like, ooh, I love antique shops. Like, let's go in. So we went in and we bought 5 things.
Yeah.
4
All
or
right.
5
So
things.
this right here, I've always been a big collector of art, like anything that's like cool art, and then like historical things that I can find, right? So we go in this store, Dave, that was Sunday, right?
3 days ago.
3 days ago?
3 days ago, 3 days
Yeah,
ago.
something like that. And I'm walking by and I just see this newspaper in a plastic bag. And I look at it and it says like, the war is over. Truman proclaims total victory. And the date on the paper is August 15th, 1945. So this is a paper. This is a Philadelphia record paper from 1945. This was the day after the Japanese surrendered to the United States to end World War II.
You want to take it out?
So this is the paper.
It's
Wow.
very, very.
I mean, this thing is like literally falling apart. Like if I take it out of here,
Yeah.
it's like almost like disintegrating. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
like you
saying?
can just touch the paper and like little pieces will break off. And I'm like, oh my God, this paper is older than like our parents. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
our grandparents would have seen that.
So
and it was just sitting on like, you know, they just have random furniture everywhere, just like antique stuff. And that was just sitting just on top of a thing. And I was like, oh my God, look at this. And it's like,
I mean, it's very fine. I mean,
I don't know
really,
if you can see like the little pieces. of.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. If you
Yeah.
were to rub that too much, it literally would disintegrate.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't want you to mess with it too much.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would.
So I'm going to take it to a guy and I'm going to see if he can frame it up. And then maybe, I don't know what the thing's worth, if it's worth anything at all. I mean, I have no idea. I thought I got it on a steal. It was $100. So I was just like, I'll take it, man. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I spend $100 and I got a piece of history, or I spend $100 and like maybe some like museum wants it and they want to buy it and they want to give me $20,000 for it. I mean, I don't know, right? So,
but it's just cool to actually like have something that was in existence like before our parents were even in existence. You know?
Yeah, this is like
a historical. Right? Yeah, a historical moment. I mean, especially if you're into collecting stuff for history. I mean, that's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, it was the only newspaper thing.
Yeah,
they had there.
when I bought it,
furniture.
When I asked the dude, I was like, "How much for this?" He was just like, "Ah, man, like this has been here a long time, man, and you're gonna be the guy to take it off my hands." And I was like, "Yep." I was like, "You need to know what price."
For what it's worth, I have spent way more than $100 on stuff that I guarantee is way less valuable than what you bought. So
well, I mean, if you go out to eat nowadays, you're going to spend $100. So
right, true,
you know?
True.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Good to see you guys again.
The time. Let everybody know where they can find you at. Go ahead and plug anything you want to plug again. Anything you want out there.
Yeah, just social media, man. Instagram.com/LOKEYS910. It's the same thing for the Twitter, the Snapchat, the Threads, all that. YouTube.com/Psycho Fodder for as many free matches as you could watch with a lot of wrestlers that you know and maybe a few that you don't. And our merch store, like we have a merch store that's attached to the YouTube channel now where you can get print on demand Psycho Love merchandise, or if you want to get it directly from us, it's psycholovemerch.bigcartel.com.
Yep.
Awesome. And I see you wearing some Psycho Boy your t-shirt right now. So there you go.
That's a new joint right there. So
yeah, and then all my stuff's been the same forever and ever. Twitter, actual A-Love, Instagram, A-Love, 4life222. We are revamping my YouTube channel. Complete revamping. I think it was called About Angelina. I was trying to do like normal stuff. And it was like fine for the time, but that was like 5 years ago. So I'm like, I need to kind of like get with him because I just have so many
matches. You're with me, but I'll just doctor up your
right. Yes. And get that uniformity together and all of those things. So because I have a match or two out there.
Guys, matches and stories you can tell and everything. A YouTube channel with you, Angelina. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff you can kind of content wise can put out there. I don't know if you've seen like Maven's YouTube channel or Buff Bagwell has a YouTube channel now where they're just telling stories about things, and those do gangbuster numbers.
For sure, man, no doubt.
Guys, thank you again for joining us here tonight. All the links are below. Everybody, you can go check out the YouTube channel from there. You can go to the store. You can follow them on social media. All the links are down below in the description. Again, thank you, Fodder. Thank you, Angelina Love, for joining us here tonight. Guys, we will be right back here on. We're back. Big thank you to Fodder and Angelina Love. Always great chatting with them. They're continuing to do a lot in the world of professional wrestling. Go check out Psycho Boy's YouTube channel. If you just want some free matches, you can follow stories. He's not only putting the matches up there, but if you watch them and if you watch the promos, you can get the full-on storyline with everything that's going on. He's doing really a job with his YouTube channel, and I hope it continues to be successful, and he continues to be successful. And Angelina Love, an absolute legend and the business, one half of the beautiful people, and always great catching up with them. Go support them. The links are below to their socials and to the YouTube channel. Guys, we will be back next week. Appreciate everyone following us here over to Fightful Overbooked. Appreciate the super chats, the viewership, the thumbs up. If you've not subscribed to the channel, that helps us out. Check out all the other shows we got going on this channel, including tomorrow. Joel Pearl and I are back with In the Weeds at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will see if Timecock Max Cocker joins us. You have to tune in. That's the only way to know. It's the only way to know if Timecock Max Cocker will be with us tomorrow on In the Weeds, 10 a.m. Eastern, myself and Joel Pearl. Until then, everyone have a good Thursday. Everyone enjoy your weekend, whatever you're doing this weekend. Have fun with it. Bye, everybody.